Johnny, I like your channel, but it's my time now.
Cool.
We got transcodes the first shot. So I would prefer to just start with the game right off the bat, but I thought I should give a few updates. Number one, I haven't eaten today, and I was very much torn between starting the stream later and eating, or starting it now. And I think I made the wrong choice by not eating. But I have made that choice, and I'm live now. But what I did do just before starting, I did order something, which will be sent to me, and it will probably arrive within the hour. So there's going to be a small break. I probably won't stop to eat dinner. What I will probably do is I will stop to bring the item in, at which point I will eat at the end of the broadcast. Though I, of course, reserve the right not to collapse over my keyboard from lack of food. Also, some housekeeping. So I know this is always tedious if you're watching a VOD, but this is the live broadcast, and I mean, let's face it, it's Mass Effect, so it's a popular game, but it doesn't necessarily bring people out in droves. So I should have said this last week, but I wasn't thinking. There is Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving. I know our American brothers and sisters will have that in November, but for me, Thanksgiving is on Monday. Now, I've been really bad at giving myself the holiday off, and that's usually because I fail to recognize the holiday in time, and I don't want to do like the day of or the earlier announcement. So I'm getting that out of the way right now, that it is a Canadian holiday on Monday. I'm definitely feeling like I have underdone it on streaming holidays, and it's likely that I'm going to take that Monday to myself. I also don't think it's a bad point, because we did finish the Amazon sort of scenario, and we're between scenarios, so if I miss a week, there isn't as much sort of continuity that's broken. It does have the small drawback, though, that normally next week, and I suspect that's going to be true, so I need to double check the timing, but I believe the local game dev meetup, known as Dirty Rectangles, it kind of feels like the Toronto one has started to sort of drive the boat a little bit. Mad King Brutos is entering a year and is on the verge of another quarter with us. So thank you very much for 14 months of subscriptions. It's been nice. It was kind of funny. Olaf really kindly for my birthday donated a bunch of subs to people in the channel, which is great. I know people still don't really use the emotes all that much, and it's a shame because I'm very fond of them. But I also can't control how people behave in chat. So just because I like it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone, excuse me, doesn't necessarily mean that everyone else has to. There we go. Mad King Brodos made me happy. And what was really encouraging about that was after the month subscription period had elapsed, the overall level of subscriptions went up. So it seems like some people kept them, and that felt really good. Now, over time, that fell, and I was actually looking a little bit at... so the numbers had dipped down for a little while, and again, I don't want to be purely metric driven, but it is important to sort of keep that stuff in mind. Also, when there's familiar faces which sort of stop coming by, there's any number of reasons why that can happen. But I want to try and take those as signals as to maybe where I've gone astray, or if something that I knew that I've done has gone the wrong way. But I have noticed that the sub numbers are sort of back at their equilibrium. So, of course, it would have been nice, obviously it would be super cool if when Olaf did something, it resulted in sort of this structural shift and the stream found a new plateau. But it looks like we're back to normal, which means I can sort of breathe a bit easy in terms of some of my decisions. Anyways, I was talking about the local game dev meetup, Dirty Rectangles. By the way, Brutus, I've been neglecting the galaxy map, so I'm a little bit off of the 100%. I want you to brace yourself, because I know you've been going through the wars. Hey, that's a lie. That's 97% the last time I checked it. Speaking of, I hope you're feeling better. I don't know if you're out of the hospital. I think you were out of the hospital when we last talked. Anyways, I hope you are doing better. I hope you are doing as you've improved as much as you had seemed to the last time that you were here. Now, I was talking about the local game dev meetup. So it seems like the Toronto group is kind of driving the bus, at least in terms of the online events. And the drawback with that is that their meetups are the second week of the month, whereas locally here in Ottawa, our team, sort of the mothership, is the third Wednesday of every month. And the reason I actually prefer the third Wednesday of every month is that generally I notice that Canadian holidays seem to fall on the second week. So that means that if the holiday happens on the Monday and then the game dev meetup happens on the Wednesday, that basically means 2/3 of my broadcast week are shot out for events that I don't necessarily have control over. So I'm sort of divided on how to manage that thing, and I'll let you all know if I come up with a better solution for it. But just keep in mind that next week it might be a little bit short on broadcasts, and that's mostly just because I kind of want to make sure that I'm taking care of myself and such. Matt King Bruno says, you're back at home? Yeah, I've been for a few weeks, slowly wearing off the painkillers, and never before have you been so scared until just then. Well, hopefully it wasn't it didn't live up to your fears. The other thing, and this is where I was heading towards, I wanted to also just give a bit of a heads up in terms of how I'm going to be treating the cast for the next little while. So I'm very happy with the response to what I've been doing on YouTube. So for those of you who are fans of Cultist Simulator, I have started to do those videos as sort of 20-minute hits once a week on YouTube, and the response to them has been very positive. They're not the most popular videos I've ever done, but they are ones that I feel are generating sort of this outsized response to sort of to my stuff, let's say. And I think I'm going to continue on in that vein, also with other games as well. So, and of course, if you like the Cultist Simulator stuff, but you don't like the new format, please let me know those as well. So, sorry, I like you using the Aristotle emote too. I feel like I need to zoom in a little bit on that one, but I'm happy to see the emotes used, as I said before. But the drawback with Mass Effect 3 is a wonderfully big game, but it does carry with it sort of the challenge that if a time-sensitive event comes up, I'm going to have a little bit of difficulty, getting everything done in a timely fashion. And so I normally like to surprise people with things that are going to be coming up, but I wanted to talk about a few different games. I will say there will be one mystery. So there's something that came up quite unexpectedly for me. And I think most of you will have probably already seen this, but it's a bigger release, and I was a bit lucky to get a key for it. I suspect probably they didn't want to give me a key for it. They just, I slipped through the cracks. But some of you who've been watching for a while are going to be very amused by who it came from. But I'm going to add another cast tomorrow. So around this time, or probably a little earlier than this time, because it's getting close to 8. I'm going to be doing another. I'm going to be doing sort of a one-off. It doesn't mean I won't do the game again, but because it's something that's sort of come out recently, and it's an RPG, so I think most of you already know what it is. I wanted to, and because I was given a key for promotional purposes, I do want to make sure that I put that out and sort of get some gameplay, get some opinions on that in. And then it's something that we will follow through, over a longer period of time when things settle down a little bit. So that's not going to interrupt Mass Effect. However, on October the 15th, Kit Fox Games will be releasing Lucifer Within Us. And their community manager was nice enough to reach out to me, I guess this morning, and there was a key for that. And the reason why I'm specifically mentioning Lucifer Within Us is Kit Fox, as I've said in the past, Kit Fox has actually been unusually good at reaching out and being incredibly pleasant in their exchanges, and they are someone who I want to go out of my way to help and support. And so this is everything from 6 Ages. They didn't give me a key for Moon Hunters, but that's another game that they did that I quite enjoyed. And I think Fit for a King might have been the first one. It's all been a lot of fun. It's all been really wonderful. Their community manager, Victoria Tran, seems to have been just about everywhere the last couple of months. I have no idea how she finds time to rest. But is a very admirable individual, but more importantly is just personally incredibly pleasant in interactions. And I think it is particularly at a time when I was talking about interactions with Paradox and their, at least one of the, I mean, it's a big company, but the person who's responsible for keys for them, how those were profoundly negative encounters. I am much more of the view to celebrate things that are praiseworthy rather than sort of turn the stream into like a lifelong vendetta. Thank you, Brudos. There's the two paths you can take, right? You can promote the things that you think are a good model moving forward, or you can sort of sit down and grind your teeth at things that frustrate you. And I think it's better to lend that support, especially too, because the games are really good. I think some of you saw me do Lucifer Within Us, and I thought it was a really interesting game that I'm looking forward to doing. So with that in mind, I do think Kit Fox is a company. It's also a Canadian company, and with that in mind, Victoria is not the only person involved with Kit Fox. So Tanya Short, I've been seeing a few of her interviews lately, and again, just a very capable, thoughtful individual who I also really like. I've noticed in a few of the exchanges and a few of the topics that she's talked about, has also been very willing to embrace uncertainty and the idea that, maybe a change that she's doing or a position that she's advocating isn't the final form. And I think there's some value in an authority sort of speaking with those contingencies in mind, because it helps us build. Right? You can have, it's good press if you just come out and say, I'm XYZ and I know what I'm talking about. But I think if you are interested in getting to the truth, there is quite a bit of value in being willing to say, here is our current thinking on the issue right now. We are open to change if the evidence turns to the, turns counter to our expectations. And I sometimes wish more not just in gaming, but more figures would do that, because I think there's a lot of value. To me, it comes off as quite a bit more authentic. Doesn't mean that she's she's uncertain in the right ways. I think, if you were to look for someone to, the company's publishing Dwarf Fortress, for crying out loud. Like, clearly these are people who know what they're doing. Yeah, I just think there's a certain confidence that is communicated by holding a strong position, presenting it, but allowing for the possibilities where perhaps the assumptions that it was founded on have gone wrong. So overall, it's an interesting company. It's one that I think has products that are worth supporting, in addition to having people who, to all appearances are people who I think are a really good indication of the sort of interactions I would like to have more of on Twitch and in gaming in general. So you shall return. You have to achieve this difficult task of showering with one leg and crutches. All right. Well, I'll probably be going through codex entries anyway, so you probably won't miss too much. But I do need to wrap it up because we're now 15 minutes in. But anyways, all of that, I really should just save the preamble for Lucifer Within Us. But with that in mind, I'll probably have a special stream on the 15th. But it does mean for the next little while, I'm going to be going through Lucifer Within Us. That will probably mean that Mass Effect goes on hold. And I apologize for that because I really wanted to get through to the end. But if a new game comes out and I have an opportunity to cover it at a time where I think the interest will be the most, a developer was given has given me a press key, I do feel a certain responsibility to cover that well and to cover that in a timely fashion. And obviously Mass Effect 3 I bought with my own money, and so I reserve the right to play that, whenever I damn well feel like it. But I know that's not gonna fit for everyone, and I apologize for those of you who maybe aren't as interested in Lucifer Within Us as I am. Hopefully I can convince you otherwise. All right, let's get the journal up. I am so glad that I ordered food because I suddenly feel very, very hungry. So it says in 35 minutes. Non-sapient creatures, thresher moths.
Moths are subterranean carnivores that spend their entire lives eating or searching for something to eat. Threshers reproduce via spores that can lie dormant for millennia, yet are robust enough to survive prolonged periods in deep space and atmospheric re-entry. As a result, thresher spores appear on many worlds, spread by previous generations of space travelers. The body of a thresher never entirely leaves the ground. Only the head and tentacles erupt from the earth to attack. In addition to physical attacks, threshers have the ability to project toxic chemicals and emit bursts of infrasound as a shockwave weapon. The Alliance first encountered threshers on the colony of Hercules in 2177. After contact was lost with the Pioneer team, Marine units were deployed to investigate. The shore parties were set upon by hungry threshers, and nearly the entire assault force was killed. Alliance forces recommend engaging threshers with vehicle-mounted heavy weapons.
Or Reapers. Oh, did we get through...
The Reaper weapon, although...
I guess we did.
The Reaper weapon...
All right, the Reapers. Harvesting. Even with all the Reaper's power, harvesting every sapient species in an entire galaxy can take decades or even centuries. The most time-consuming part of the process is gathering DNA from the population. To accelerate the effort, Reapers follow a consistent procedure. Victims who cooperate, surrender, or are captured by husks are sorted into camps. It is believed the husks possess receptors that allow them to analyze a victim's DNA through sight, smell, or touch. Victims that meet their standards are herded from the camps into processor ships. Those the husks deem insufficient or are either turned into husks themselves or indoctrinated to serve as slave labor. The Reapers use this last option to give their victims false hope. Many captives who would otherwise fight back become docile when they see members of their own kind obey and survive. Sorry, just 1 second. I'm probably going to sneeze. Okay, apparently not. The processor ships reduce victims to a transportable liquid. Like in a slaughterhouse, the ship's design prevents victims from seeing or hearing what happens elsewhere so that they do not panic. The victims are ushered into locking pods, then rent apart and dissolved into paste that is flushed into storage vats. The rate of killing is phenomenal. Intelligence estimates that there are more than 400 processor ships on Earth, killing approximately 1.86 million humans per day. Holy crap. Okay. I actually kind of wish that they would have identified that near the start. That actually gives so much weight to all this time I'm wasting on side stuff. That is staggering. In combination with battlefield deaths, disease, and famine, this pace will result in the complete depopulation of Earth within a decade. As the husks and indoctrinated slaves build more slaughtering facilities, the kill rate can only increase. Reaper vulnerabilities. Although clearly technologically superior to the Citadel forces, the Reapers have experienced casualties in the battles across the galaxy. This indicates that, theoretically, with the right intelligence, weapons, and strategy, the Reapers could be defeated. Unlike the Mass Effect relays they created, Reapers do not have quantum shields. Locking itself down at a quantum level would leave a Reaper unaware of its surroundings until the shielding deactivated. Instead, Reapers rely on kinetic barriers. In the case of a Reaper capital ship, these kinetic barriers can hold off the firepower of 2 dreadnoughts simultaneously, but 3 clearly causes strain, and 4 typically results in destruction. Weapons designed to maximize heat damage, such as the Thanix series, show better results against the Reapers than pure kinetic impacts. The barriers of a Reaper destroyer are less formidable than those of a capital ship. It is possible for a single cruiser or many fighters to disable or demolish a destroyer if they can get within range before they themselves are destroyed. The Reaper's energy sources are not infinite. For example, to land on a planet, a Reaper must substantially reduce its mass. The transfer of power to Mass Effect generators leaves the Reaper's kinetic barriers at only partial strength. Sovereign was destroyed while assuming direct control over Saren. The feedback from Saren's death seems to have entirely overloaded Sovereign's shields. Current Reapers do not seem to suffer from this design flaw. Reaper capital ships can turn faster than Citadel dreadnoughts, but to do so, they must lower their mass to a level unacceptable in combat situations. Consequently, it is possible for a dreadnought to emerge from FTL travel behind a capital ship, then bring its guns to bear faster than the Reaper can return fire. This is a poor tactic, however, against Reapers flying in proper formation. This is kind of interesting because I don't know if this is intentional or not, but this actually reflects some of the Allied strategies against the heavier planes that the Germans developed in World War II. So there were these, so far as I can understand, sort of technically superior heavy fighters that were a real menace to the Allies, but their great weakness was actually in landing. So they were very vulnerable as the plane was going to the landing strip. And so ultimately, the Allied strategy would be to ambush them on return. Obviously, the plane can't fly forever. There seems to be like a little bit of there seems to be just sort of a little bit of a hint of that when they're talking about the idea of the Reaper landing on Earth. Now, I mean, again, it's hard, right? Because like you can't just point to any vulnerability and say, oh, you mean just like the fighters in World War II. Well, no, because, vulnerability is a vulnerability. And likewise, in the case, like for stories, there is an advantage in having a big bad that's, beyond your ability to fight it, right? If you're doing a horror story, for instance, you have sort of this, whatever it is, this spirit of evil that's coming after you that is truly an overwhelming force. And there is no possible way that you could ever hope to stop it. And this is, different. So you can contrast this with the Terminator. So the Terminator, is described by Kyle Reese as someone who, again, it's never going to stop until you're dead. But of course, the film, I mean, over the course of the series, multiple Terminators are terminated. So that's not exactly it. And I mean, they're not horror films, right? They might be close to it, but they're really not. They're not doing the same thing. And this, I think, is the big insight, or the feature that, at least of sort of storytelling as we know it, that Outlast and Amnesia: The Dark Descent sort of plays with. That these are games which deny you the ability to defend yourself entirely, that you don't have a hope of fighting and you shouldn't try. And I mean, some people, I know I've talked to a couple people who think that Amnesia is an overrated game. I don't actually really agree. I kind of see where they're coming from, but I think the case is overstated. I actually think Amnesia is a very well done game. Outlast, I think, is also very well done. But I think that's kind of the insight that those two games are driving from. It's clearly not the only way of doing a horror game. I think the new Resident Evil allows you to fight. That's obviously true to the series as a whole. But I also believe Alien Isolation does. And they do really interesting things to keep you from feeling like you're in control or that you really have a chance of taking things on. While also not reducing you down to the characters that you play in sort of these two very groundbreaking horror games, Amnesia: The Dark Descent and Outlast, through completely denying your ability to defend yourself. Anyways, we're playing Mass Effect, so. But the reason why I think that's interesting for the Reapers is, in one sense you can talk about the vulnerabilities. There isn't necessarily an advantage in making the Reapers seem like something that you cannot defend against at all. More importantly, it's also inconsistent with what's happened in the previous games.
They were fighting the collectors while the council staff watched. And now they're killing civilians and attacking our allies.
I know the game is quiet. I don't think I have anything to improve the sound. Although I can improve the sound for myself because I need to turn it up. Yeah, so we're at max here. I've maxed the desktop audio. The desktop audio in OBS. The only other thing I could hope to do would be to lower my voice, which I'm willing to do if that helps you guys. But I think these are the settings I had last time.
Commander?
No new messages. All right, so I'm obviously in a bit of a chatty mood. I'm also I was hoping to play out the timer a bit for the delivery so I didn't have to like pause in the middle of a mission, but depending on when this thing arrives, I might just get on with it.
Damn, I could really use something to shoot right now. Commander?
Maximum dynamic pressure is approaching. Throttle down for minimal resistance.
Thanks, Mom.
Excuse me. Oh yeah, sorry. I was talking about vulnerabilities for the Reapers. So one, I think in the case of Mass Effect, I actually think it produces just more interesting situations overall. So the chance to be, one, it's about organizing a defense of Earth and the galaxy as a whole. So clearly, if the expedition is doomed to begin with, and you know this, you do sort of have a very reasonable question of, well, what's the point then? And this is not to say it can't be. I mean, the great noble defeat or the last stand in the face of overwhelming odds. There are interesting stories that can be pulled out of that. I'm not entirely sure they're video game stories, though. I think, maybe that's a discussion for another time. But more importantly, too, it's touching on a little bit of what I think was interesting. I can't remember if what looks a bit like a thermos was sitting there last time. If it wasn't, that's a nice touch because it kind of implies that there have been games played here in the meantime. I think it just leads to a lot more interesting moments. So we're talking about how we sort of we didn't get a glimpse visually, but story-wise, we kind of got a glimpse as to why the Turians have the reputation that they do as great, a great navy, as great figures in the, particularly adept at space combat, or good defenders of the. Of Citadel. Basically, we know why they have the largest navy. It's not just because they're particularly good at politics. It's because they're actually capable of delivering in a way that maybe humanity was not. And I think again, if you have these moments, if you just produce something that says, okay, well, the Reapers are so scary. There's overwhelming force. There's nothing you can ever do about it. I love that there's a coffee cup in here. I really want to know the story behind that. Again, you wind up, you kind of just wind up throwing up your hands, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's a big bad. Basically, through allowing this overwhelming force to have a bit of vulnerability, you've actually created more information about the people fighting them. And so that's basically the touch that I like about it.
Commander.
A little bit Mad King Brutus, but as it was, there was only a couple of details. It was one that I was sort of unpacking now. Again, I'm sort of feeling the lack of food, so I'm repeating myself a lot. But it wasn't. There was only like 2 entries.
How's it going?
One was on Thresher Maws, and then the other one was about Reaper vulnerabilities, and also finding out the rate at which the Reapers process.
Thank you for the data packet. The results are available on the Information Network terminal.
Process their victim. That was actually very alarming to read. But Right, Vulus Intelligence Archives. The Solarian Special Tasks Force appears to have approached the Vol Protectorate about co-developing combat implants that require rare elements found in Volus space. The schematics for these implants include plans to retrofit them to non-Solarian species should it be a sufficiently profitable venture. One of these upgrades could be commissioned, although its construction would be time-consuming and must be custom-made. So we could do power damage or a health bonus. You know what? I'm gonna do the health bonus just because I've been struggling on a couple of missions. No new emails.
Rex knows what he's doing, but can he keep the Krogan in check? Or will this be the start of another Krogan empire?
So I'm gonna guess there's nothing new for me here, but let's take the. I'm already sort of halfway through, so we'll do a quick patrol. It doesn't take people long to tell me, Commander, and it lets the restaurant cook my food.
Dobby, what do you think about our new yeoman, Miss Trina?
She's not a yeoman, she's a communications specialist. And you're barking up the wrong tree, Kenneth. You're not her type.
Oh, well, perhaps you should go and talk to her then.
Maybe I should. Nobody's barking up my tree.
If it works out, be sure to take video.
Have you found that thermal pipe yet?
How many times?
There's probably a store on the Citadel that carries thermal pipe.
How many times am I writing this guy up?
Commander.
Nothing to report.
By the way, I admire your use of the proper copyright symbol, Mad King Brutus. One of the things I like about using a Mac is it's really easy to do like the TM and copyright symbols and whatnot. I respect people who put the effort to put the right symbol as opposed to just a little bracket with a C.
Your Liara Asari asks many questions. You would think she'd never seen a Prothean before.
Get it? Get it.
Breaking now, the Arcturus station destroyed and the Alliance Parliament feared dead.
Is that really
But
breaking
Admiral
news?
Stephen Hackett says the fleets can regroup. We'll hear it from him right here in the battle space.
Sorry, I'm just gonna... I did make some coffee before I started, so I'm just gonna finish that up.
Huh. Second Star Broadcasting is headhunting me. I liked their Garvuk story, but seriously, I'm on the Normandy.
Okay. Are you still feeling grim, sir?
That last mission on Novaria shows why I love the Kodiak.
All you did was drop them off and bugger out. How are you proud of that?
I seem to remember being shot at the whole time, and everyone coming back in one piece, Mr. Vega.
Yeah, next time park it and come join the party, Esteban.
All right, slab bulkhead. What do you have to say for
I
yourself?
was looking at the specs on that Reaper you took out on Tuchanka. That was one of the small ones? Don't get me wrong, it's still dead, but damn. There was nothing small about it.
Good talk. All right. We already went over my loadouts. So let's head up to the CIC. I'm pretty sure we've already chatted with Admiral Hackett, but let's just make sure that I didn't miss anything. Oh, totally unrelated to Mass Effect, but seeing as I'm potentially...
Commander Shepard, something you need to talk about?
We've already done it. Although I did just earn an achievement, Master and Commander, so what's the deal here? Deliver most of the Galactic Galaxy at War assets to the final conflict.
What's our state of readiness?
Maybe
Admiral?
we're a lot closer to the end than I
The good
thought.
news is we're managing to win in some sectors. The bad news is we're losing in others. I'm encouraged by our order of battle, though. It seems to be working. We just need to stick to it and pick up the pace.
I feel like there's a lot that hasn't been resolved yet for this to be close. I'm assuming that probably this. I'm assuming that this is triggered by a certain level, rather.
What about the extra help we picked up along the way?
The Krogan and Turians have obviously been a big help. Erdnot Rex running the show is a bonus for us. Had that female Krogan you rescued survived, she might have rallied more support from the clans, but I'll take what we can get. I'm glad you disabled that bomb on Tuchanka. We could have lost a lot of Krogan support. As it is, we picked up some Turian troops.
Good to hear. Nothing more, sir.
Keep me posted. Hack it out.
Okay. I definitely remember some of the other material. So let's take a look. I'm pretty sure we're still on Tuchanka with some other material. I was going to say something that wasn't related to Mass Effect, though. So one game I've been trying. So I got the console a while ago. Well, someone gave me a console is the more accurate statement. Oh no, we've already done Tuchanka. So I'm going to guess there's nothing else for me here, but... So priorities on the Citadel. So yeah, this is why I kind of regret sometimes splitting this stuff up. I need to see if there's anything else for me to do out in the galaxy before I head back to the Citadel, because I've got a lot to do there. Okay, so Attican Beta. Yeah, there's actually quite a few. There's quite a few new things, and I'm very curious about the Flash. Okay, so here's how I'm going to handle this. I'm going to check out the ones that aren't flashing. And then I think I'm going to see what's going on in the Minos Wasteland and then move into the Serpent Nebula. But yeah, so there are two things that I picked up for the Xbox. NHL, I guess it was 21? No, 19. Of course it's not 21. What is it? I actually haven't played that much of it yet. I'd like to, but...
I found something.
This could get ugly. Elantia appears to be a world eminently suited for colonization. It is covered by a verdant carpet of mosses, algae, and lichen, and possesses a thick oxygenated atmosphere. However, its animal kingdom is a web of microscopic symbiotic creatures that are both impossible to filter from the air and necessary for the native life to thrive. Unfortunately, they cause anaphylactic shock if inhaled by non-native life forms. Settlement by non-native species would require either fully sealed environment suits or a replacement of the entire planet's ecosystem. Limited colonization has been proposed for altitudes above the organism's range or in areas where favorable winds keep the air clear. But the other game that I got was Red Dead Redemption, which I've never played before. Although I do now have Red Dead Redemption 2 on Epic. So, all right. So there's probably a destroy. Yep, there's the fuel. I'll save that for the way back.
Successful.
I better hope I have enough fuel for the way back. I've been really enjoying. I've been really enjoying Red Dead Redemption lately. I feel like it captures a lot of the things that I'm finally starting to appreciate in the Elder Scrolls series. I realize like it's easy to sort of feel like all Rockstar games are the same. So the sort of way that you can feel that way about Ubisoft games. But I think the thing that's really caught my attention about Red Dead Redemption is the fact that it doesn't have so a lot of GTA is parody. And I think it's really interesting to see something like Red Dead Redemption played straight for the most part. But on top of that, so when you do a game about like being gangsters, in some ways that story just winds up sort of being about how many gangster movies you've seen. And given the fact that I think Goodfellas is a highly overrated film, but I know I'm in a severe minority in that view, and everyone just really seems to like it and cannot get enough of references to that movie. I tend to find games like that sometimes very tedious. Now, I actually quite like GTA, so don't get me wrong there. But it's interesting, in my view, to see something like Red Dead Redemption. So, like, basically, the idea here is that if you do the real world as it is, you get The Sims. And The Sims is great. The Sims is, like, one of the best games ever made. But it's not necessarily what people who sign up for Grand Theft Auto are looking for. And so what you need to do is, of course, you need to make the real world interesting enough to have all of these events and things to do. You need to sell people on some kind of a fantasy, and one of the ways that GTA does that is it creates this parody. And in the case of GTA 5, it's sort of this parody of Los Angeles that has a lot to say about celebrity, about, there's a bunch of jabs at Silicon Valley, which obviously isn't necessarily an LA thing, but definitely it gets a chance to thumb its nose at a lot of different things, and it's wonderful for it. But again, there's limits in terms of what you can get away with. In order to kind of create the theme park for me to go and do interesting things, GTA doesn't necessarily take itself very seriously. The cowboy fantasy, on the other hand, this is something everybody kind of knows. So breaking horses, playing horseshoes, playing poker, if you want to hogtie someone and put him to the tracks, you can play a stereotypical Western villain. Hunting, there's like shootouts, like showing a showdown in the middle of the street with someone. Like, all of that stuff is there. And because it's stuff that we kind of have already tapped into, I just think that type of game is actually a lot of fun to play without having sort of this layer of irony put on top of it in order to, justify having all of these things that are interesting to do. I suppose maybe the other way of saying it is like all the characters in Grand Theft Auto are criminals. And I think to a certain extent, being a criminal in the way that they are is not very interesting. I know this sounds weird, right? Because that gives you lots of things that you can get in shootouts and all of that. So what they need to do is they need to put that layer of humor on to make it more interesting than it is. Also, Mad King Bruto says, so you just came up with your own headcanon after hearing the Volus intelligence file again. Engineer class Shepard mildly salivates at the sound of implant and upgrades because of the rebirth in MV2. Sorry, when you said headcanon, I misread it as like the artillery piece. I was like, I don't think we had that level of cybernetics in the game. The Exogeny Corporation has founded a pilot colony on Pharos to explore the Prothean ruins that blanket 2/3 of the planet's landmass. The atmosphere is fouled with dust. Terrestrial travel is hampered by crumbled debris dozens of meters deep. There was implications that Pharos was a much colder world in the past. Pharos has 2 large moons, Orkan the Further and Vardet. Neither of which we care about because we're here for the goods. And again, sorry to do the digression on Red Dead Redemption, but I'm catching up with old games. I also haven't played The Witcher, so I'm sure when I play that, I'll become big. And this is like the thing, I'm one of the few people, it seems, who's not that excited for Cyberpunk. It doesn't mean I don't think it's not gonna do, like, I'm sure that game is gonna do well. I have some opinions about how well I think it's going to do. Maybe I'll save those for myself, but I'll admit I'm actually not that interested in the game. I know it's very hotly anticipated. I should have saved just in case. All right, I bet I can escape still.
Reapers eluded.
Ooh, this is going to be tight.
Faster than light jump successful.
But I also understand that a lot of the appeal for Cyberpunk is coming from people having these very fond memories of, of the latest Witcher entry. Were we already here? I guess it must be a different listening post. Listening post X-19 was built... No, this is the same spot. It was built just shortly after the Rachni Wars, just in case the Rachni survived the annihilation of Surin. So I think... Yeah, so I guess the case here is that... Oh, they're gonna get mad. Right, so we've been to the Ninma cluster and it looks like there just isn't stuff for us to find there. So, I am going to take a quick look at the Minus Wasteland just to see why it's pinging me. Aquietas, home of the famous iron canyons, Aquietas has reddish iron oxide dust hematite covering much of its surface and significant blue cobalt deposits that freckle the terrain. Turian explorers have discovered hot springs in the polar ice cap heated by magma in the planet's crust. In a strange combination of science and hucksterism, a small facility exports water from these springs, which is bottled and sold as having medicinal properties. The funds are then used to maintain a research station, which has discovered some fossil evidence that Aquietas once harbored microscopic life based on deoxyribonucleic acids in these springs. Orbital distance 4.0 AU, orbital period 8 Earth years, radius 7,437 kilometers, day length 51.6 Earth hours, atmospheric pressure 0.49 Earth atmospheres, surface temperatures minus 85 Celsius, and a surface gravity of 1.6 Gs. So I'm a little curious why it's highlighting this. Alright, well, I pissed something off. So this is a little scummy of me, but I'm gonna... There's two things I'm gonna do. So one, I'm going to... Oh wait, hang on, I can't travel anywhere else. So normally I like figuring this stuff out on my own. I am going to take a minute here and just see why this is highlighted. Well, the first thing that comes up says a mission bug. Okay, so it basically looks like this is a bug. It's a little funny because you'd think that that sort of thing would be patched out, so it's hey, you gotta do something, right? All right. So it seems like all roads lead to the Citadel, which I'm fine with. I mean, we are 45 minutes in. The plan was to do as much as we could for the side missions before we go on the priority. So it's I think the time has come for us to have the other shoe drop.
Alliance Control, this is SSV Normandy. Are we clear to descend? Alliance Control, this is Normandy. We're headed to Bay 1-4, Zakara Ward. Are we clear to descend? What the hell's going on down there? Even if there were a station malfunction, they'd have backups online. I got a bad feeling here. Checking emergency channels. Hey, yeah, this is Joker. Uh-huh. Yeah, no kidding. Commander, there's a communication from Thane. He says it's important. I think you'll want to hear this.
Put him through.
Shepard, the Citadel is under attack. Cerberus troops are everywhere and they're in control of the docks.
Are you safe?
No, I had to evade their commandos at the hospital. I'm in a Presidium storefront.
Did Ashley make it out?
We got separated. She said she had to protect the Council. I'm going to CSEC headquarters.
Why CSEC headquarters?
It's been compromised, and CSEC's response depends on it. As long as Cerberus is holding the headquarters, they have the station.
All right, Joker. Get us away from the docks and close to CSEC HQ. We'll deploy in the shuttle.
Aye, aye, Commander.
I mean, this raises an interesting question. If Cerberus can take the Citadel, how safe is the Citadel from the Reapers? I feel bad. Like, I feel like I should be using Javik, Garrus, and or James more often than I really am, but the Edie Liara combo has been working reasonably well for me so far. So I'm trying to decide whether or not it's fitness or cryo ammo I wanna. Tactical cloak is nice and all, but I feel like I don't use it enough. I do really like passive bonuses. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do fitness, I think. So that's more shooty. And warp is tempting. Yeah, let's go for it. So damage and duration, or increase weapon damage taken by the target for ooh, This is actually a trickier. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'll just go for the punching power. I hope I'm able to turn in some of these side quests still. The real threat if the Citadel falls is I won't be able to turn in side quests.
Get to cover! Understood!
Again, this is a really great way to start the mission. Alright. Sabotage. My order is finally on the move. Right. I'm a little mad that I didn't get the headshot, but we'll make it work. It's actually kind of important that Centurion dies, otherwise I'm gonna suffer from the smoke. I'm also not killing the turret in this case, just because it's gonna be helping me out against some fairly large numbers. All right. I don't appreciate my shots being messed with. All right, I really gotta get that thing out. If Edie's gonna stand on a platform. Okay, that's gonna be inconvenient. I thought I sabotaged that thing. Anyways, I'll admit, I'm definitely all about these missions that that start me off with a you know, a pot landing zone.
Shepard, I saw those Cerberus troops on you. I thought you were done for.
Bailey.
Feelings mutual.
Getting my ass shot off trying to retake headquarters. Cerberus took it in the first push. We gotta kick them out of there. Everyone in C-Sec's flying blind without the network.
Is this the situation everywhere? Are the counselors even alive?
They split up. I'll know more if I can access the terminal inside.
Can you get us in?
I'll get the door. If no one interrupts me with a bullet this time.
I probably should have picked up ammo before we moved to the next section, but I didn't know that Bailey was gonna keep me from looting the bodies.
Here we go. CSAT network access, courtesy of Cerberus.
How's that gonna help?
Cerberus has control of the main channels, but I can set up a new one. Without it, our people have no plan and no chance. Hello.
What have you got?
A warning from Counselor Valern. He's supposed to be here meeting with the Executor. Be on guard. The likelihood of betrayal from within is high. Not a lot else. But if he's inside...
Why would the Counselor be meeting with the Executor?
Usually it means someone big's about to be prosecuted. I guess that someone had Cerberus friends. The Counselor would have a clearer picture for all the good that does us.
One Counselor's better than zero. Where am I headed?
The Executor's office is defensible. He may have gone to ground there when the shooting started.
I'm on it.
Just a sec. There. Now we can talk by Omnitool. Go.
Thane, did you hear all that?
Yes. I'm nearing the building, but running is difficult.
It is interesting. I mean, we've set the stakes in terms of losing... Thanks for the help with the stealth there, Edie. Given that we've kind of got the stakes of major characters dying, like the Mordrin's sort of goodbye, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I suspect that's probably one of the reasons why things are structured the way that they are, is that, so far as I can tell, Mordrin is sort of the first goodbye you have that, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. It's going to be the... You know, this is something that's going to happen no matter what. So now that those stakes have sort of been established, especially for sort of these minor characters who you don't...
I can see more through the cameras. They're all over the station.
Who you don't necessarily, you know, they're not going to be essential for your team composition or anything like that. You now sort of have this threat that this could be it could be the last goodbye. You have to head off for a little while, probably gone for just over an hour. All right, so you'll miss my picking up some food, which probably will happen within the next 5 minutes, and then we'll be back to the gameplay. It's obviously a more quiet start anyway, and I was too chatty at the start, but looking forward to having you back for however long that is. Enjoy whatever you're up to. Encrypted emergency message from Commander Bailey. All offices. Cerberus attack in progress. All hands on deck.
These people were shot in the back of the head. Cerberus had traitors on the inside.
Same as Mars. Cerberus likes their sleeper agents.
Security doors have been sealed for your protection.
This is a nice touch. That's upsetting. I mean, the whole reason why I have this stupid gun with its low fire rate is so that I can take everything out in one shot. I really didn't need the sniper rifle for that, but... He's really dedicated. Don't need to worry about that. I will take out the lock. I just want to loot everything first. Oh. That barrel looks promising. I'll probably go back to the modification station.
I see Cerberus doesn't care about its victims dying with dignity.
I think one of the biggest things that I'm considering right now, sorry, I really appreciate the news services giving me push notifications about the vice presidential debate starting. I really don't have an interest in watching it over streaming. But when I'm waiting for food, man, it is a struggle. I'm expecting that it's some kind of push notification. Oh, nice. Okay, so they already give me the best in class. That's a nice touch.
Any survivors in there?
None yet.
Damn it. Keep looking.
So if I'm lucky, I'll be able to finish this mission in time to pick up the food. If not, I'll probably go to the main menu for a minute just to get it up.
So many lives given.
I am capturing images of the deceased. It may prove useful for motivating resistance or inclusion in future memorials.
The humans have an expression, Edie. It's too soon.
Actually, one of the things I was going to say too about Cerberus, so I'm trying to parse out Cerberus's motives here. I think the easiest answer is the one that sort of seems to have been building up, which is the elusive man has been indoctrinated, or at least someone high placed. But elusive man seems to make the most sense because I think his motives are. The interesting thing about the elusive man is that it's hard to tell exactly. I suppose over the time frame of the Mass Effect series, it would be a stretch to say that he was indoctrinated at the time that he met Shepard. It would also be very unusual for him to be, I think at least it would be very unusual for him to be under Reaper control and initiate the resurrection of the greatest threat to the Reaper invasion. Unless there's some like weird argument that, you know, Shepard has really good DNA that needs to be, you know, recaptured for harvesting or something like that. But I suppose that invites the question, well, why can't the Reapers just do that? So I suppose it would be fair to say that somewhere between the events of Mass Effect 2 and 3, assuming that the elusive man has been indoctrinated, that occurred. But what's interesting, too, is that we don't really get an idea of Saren pre-indoctrination. I think he definitely has a reputation for being a tough guy and one that's not necessarily sympathetic to humans. But it's also very clear that he is, you know, something of the tragic figure when you consider that his... you know, his special insights and all of that he's talking about is the effects of this of Reaper indoctrination. But if it's not indoctrination, I suppose the interesting question is, you know, Cerberus's activities seem to be ones that are specifically designed to undermine the defense of the galaxy. And so if it turns out that the elusive man isn't indoctrinated, I'm really curious as to why these particular actions are being taken. Personal log, Armando Owen Bailey. When entry 1, warn Herc that if he doesn't fill out his reports properly, I'm kicking his ass from one end of the Citadel to the other. Oh, it looks like my order's here, so I filibustered. Entry 2, reschedule meeting with customs analysts about cargo weight discrepancies over the last year. Don't let him wriggle out of that again, damn it. Entry 3, reports of undesirables getting on the station illegally. Have biometric systems calibrated again. Entry 4, kick Herc sorry ass from one end of the Citadel to the other. That's fun. Well, there's something in there. Hey, Starbright Knight, good to see you again. Sorry, I will not have the same floundering over where I know you from as last time. Glad to see you again. I'm actually just about to step away from the keys for a little bit to pick up my dinner, seeing as I have not had anything to eat to start off today. But I will wait until I'm given the official word that it's ready to go. But just a small caution. Oop. How are you doing tonight? I don't think I ever asked if you've played Mass Effect before. I know Ariella has done the first 2, I think. From Sergeant Uriah Shaw to Captain Iana Mao. I brought up number 177504 from evidence so that you can see for yourself. We caught the slag who was assembling it in one of Tower 110's bathrooms. He got it past the detectors in pieces, metal barrel in a hollowed out Omni tool, Ezo in one of those Sizian toothbrushes. The rest was plastic or ceramic. No gang ink on him. He was in a sport coat like most of the male employees on Tower 110. His ID was manufactured. He's got a record that dates back to when his med card was issued. Before that, nothing. This is beyond coincidence. This is a pro assassin, and he's not alone. We've got people smuggling talons all over the station. Patrol knows it, organized crime knows it, everyone knows it. But when you try and talk to the Major, you hit a steel wall. Where's internal affairs when you need them? Why can't we get them to open an investigation on customs? You would not get away with this blind eye business if you were in LA or Hong Kong. The Major says he's not going to screw over good police because of one nut with a pistol. But it isn't just one. Ask the Executor this. If this is the stuff we're catching, what's slipping by? Alright, so we're getting an idea about how Cerberus broke the defenses. You played the first 2 and part of the third. Third didn't hold your interest for some reason. I can definitely see that feeling. I don't mean to be too negative about the game, because obviously I'm still playing it. But one thing that struck me is just little bits, little details in terms of polish seem to be absent. Oh, that's embarrassing. Ooh. Just waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's one thing that really struck me. I'm enjoying this.
Be close now. There is damage here. We may be too late.
I'm enjoying this well enough, but I'm also starting to form the opinion that some of the disappointment of the game maybe isn't just about the endings. Overall, my impression of it is still favorable. And I think there are individual moments in this that are really, really worth it. But some of this, I'll admit, I'm kind of reserving judgment till the end to just sort of see where this all turns out. So you've also just been burned out on Mass Effect since you played like 7 hours a day for 2.5 weeks. Yeah, well, I can see that. I mean, I think this is maybe one of the drawbacks potentially of of having it as a trilogy now, which is that you have sort of one group of players who have played this series on release, and you have this wonderful distance from the game you played versus the game that you remember. And so when they make improvements to the game, like the latest iteration of the game, sorry, this is probably my my food. It looks like there was a bit of a language barrier, so I'm just going to run upstairs really quick. It'll probably take me about 2 minutes. Sorry for the abrupt end, but I'm a little worried that I may lose my dinner and I'm going to collapse if I don't get it. So see you guys in a bit. Jesus, that's been dead silence for the last couple of minutes, hasn't it? Okay, here's the deal. I just got my dinner. I'm not going to break for dinner. I am, however, going to... There's like a small little bit that I can nibble on. Assuming I can find it. It was silent, but it's okay. Okay, so I'm going to leave you guys with the music for a little bit. It's going to be very brief, so I know I said like 2 minutes. It's good that I went up there because I don't speak French, but the driver did, and they didn't quite understand the instructions. So I'm going to take just another quick moment, and then... Sorry, I ran up the stairs to make it, so I probably sound a little out of breath. I'm just going to take a second to get some food in me, and then I'll be able to sort of see the thing through to the end. I probably should have just took the time to properly make dinner at the start and started the stream later, but I'm dealing with my consequences now. So I will mute the mic again, though. So that, hey, Flobe, got your message. You're talking about those games as they might be something I might be interested in. Cool. If you don't mind, Flobe, thank you for that. I need to eat. So I'm going to be going silent for a minute. We can follow up. I'm sorry I didn't answer on time on Tuesday. I was just away from the keys when you asked that, but I'll see you guys in a quick minute here. Sorry about this, but I do need to take care of myself. So back in a moment. Sorry, I should have finished chewing before I unmuted. All right, I appreciate you sticking with me for that. For those of you who couldn't read the chat, I spilled something on myself like an idiot, so I needed to clean that up. I'm having the first pop I've had in like a year. It came with the order. I don't feel entirely good about it, but at this point, anything. I got it's Japanese. I have not had like a proper Japanese food from like a restaurant since Vancouver, and I saw that was an option. Holy smokes, that was good for someone who hasn't had anything to eat all day. So I have the substance of my dinner still waiting for me, but there's a little I don't even know if it counts as an appetizer, but that was so worth it, and I am sorry for those of you I made wait. Flo, great to see you. I'm sorry I didn't answer right away. So yeah, I actually played a game called For the King that interested me. You might have gotten it for free on the Epic Game Store, potentially. It had a lot of stuff that I thought was promising about it, but it didn't quite hit. But Gloomhaven kind of seems to be touching on some of the same territory that made me interested in For the King. So I'm interested in that one. I also, from what I understand, it's a very successful board game. Every once in a while I check out Board Game Geek to see what's going on there. And I mean, it used to be Twilight Struggle was like always in position 1. Then I think Pandemic Legacy unseated it for a little while. And it seems like Gloomhaven is sort of like unassailable now. So that makes it interesting in its own right. And then I think Outland was the other one that you mentioned. And Valiant Cheese did a really good point of pointing out that he had talked to me about that before, but I'd forgotten about it. So that's a nice little reminder. So thank you for those recommendations. More importantly, how have you been? Oh, Overland. Sorry. Yeah, as you can see, I have a problem remembering this game apparently. I wrote it down at least, so I think probably what caught my... So I think one of the things that maybe caught me off guard about it was I think like the review that I saw in it was sort of like very like not bad, but not necessarily overwhelmingly positive, and so it sort of like kind of fell into the back of my attention. But the fact that so many people keep referencing it, that's always a good signal for me that it's something I need to be paying attention to, because like the Steam review system sucks. Like I mean, there is no great review system, but yeah, like the reviews on Steam are not informative, and I'm not sure the aggregate behavior. So like, I'll wait for the cutscene. I have no idea. I think it's the aggregate of Steam reviews rather than it being an individual review.
Looks like they got the Executor and 2 Solarian bodyguards.
Damn, alright, keep searching. If you don't see the counselor's body, don't count him out yet.
Found him. He looks unharmed.
Get him somewhere safe.
Don't even think about it.
Shepard, he's going to kill us all.
That remains to be seen.
I mean, Utina, he's staging a coup. He's got the other counselors now to hand over to Cerberus.
3-on-1, pal. It's over.
No. No, it's fun.
That was a nice little interrupt. Well, that answers that.
How bad is it?
I have time. Catch him.
Shepard, what's going on up there?
Thane needs medical help fast, and I need to take care of an assassin.
He must be going after the rest of the council.
Get the word out. Udina's trying to seize power. I've got to get to the counselors.
I knew he was a dick. I wasn't expecting Udina's betrayal though.
Good work, Bailey. We're almost there.
I do get to play this at some point, right? Chopsticks.
Shepard, my instrument.
Sorry, I have a mouthful full. I took a mouthful right at the end of the scene. I said I wasn't gonna have dinner, but I mean, if it's gonna give me a long cutscene, I got better stuff to do with my time. So that was a neat sequence and all, but this kind of comes back to my some of the statements I was saying earlier. I feel out of the games, maybe at least this one, I'm just more conscious of the fact that I'm not actually in control. And maybe that's one of the reasons why some of my enthusiasm was a little more muted. But yeah, Flob, I don't know when those reviews were calculated. But yeah, the problem with the Steam review system is, if you look at the rating that they give you on the game. Like, so when you're looking at the title card and all of that, you're going to get, all reviews most recent. And that's going to give you an aggregate of the people who left a review for the game. I think you have to have it in your Steam library. But that's, so that's probably the most common way people use the reviews. And then there's the actual substance of those reviews. I for the most part don't even bother reading them anymore. They're just a waste of time. But the problem with the aggregate, so statistically I should like that approach, right? Because you sort of have this aggregate behavior of the people who bought the game, and there are obviously ways that people will systematically alter that score. So imagine Mass Effect 3 coming out in the time of Steam review scores as they are right now. Like, you would expect this thing to have, a huge spike in terms of of negative values. And you can see that, what happened to Borderlands when Borderlands 3 was announced. It was going to be on Epic for a year before it came to Steam. All of the Borderlands games, all of a sudden a big spike in negative reviews that has nothing to do with the actual quality of the game. But the more important thing, and this comes to the reason why I'm pointing this out as a flaw of that system, is that you've got this Overland game, which I've now had recommended from two people whose opinions I respect, Valiant Cheese and Flobe. And the aggregate doesn't necessarily line up with a necessarily good game. And what I think systems like that sort of punish are niche games. So if you're getting, all the people who bought this as opinion, and it's a game that's for sort of a narrow group of people, everybody's opinion is still weighted the same. But I'd put it to you this way. I love Wolfenstein and Doom. If Wolfenstein and Doom were the only things I ever played, do you really want to weight my opinion on Civilization 6? Probably not the same as someone who maybe really enjoys Endless Space and Endless Legend, maybe enjoyed some of the old SSI strategy games before. And this is one of the reasons why I like recommendations like Flobe's, because someone I know, someone who gets an idea of what I want to play. And even though there's very clearly the individual's perceptions of a game that I like and what that game is about, I just think it's a much more credible recommendation rather than taking a look at this mass of humanity that Valve's put together. Anyways, I should have stuck
I'm
with
on
that.
foot now. Any luck contacting the council?
Negative. Their guards are dead. But we've still got vital signs on the council's transponders.
Where are they going?
The shuttle pad above Shelmar Plaza. Houdin is with them. If he can get them in range of that assassin, this is all over.
On my way.
All right, that's my bad. He was. He's actually the representative in all three, if I recall correctly. Damn it!
That shield-like effect from the palms is giving out bizarre dark energy readings.
I could use one of their modern industrial equipment to sever the hands of their strength.
The council needs us. Run!
It says the council needs us, but I don't see a timer anywhere. I do want to take a quick second here and see if there's any objects for me to pick up. But yeah, so I will admit, I would not have expected Udina's betrayal. Oh boy. Unconventional, but manageable. Those phantom units are actually kind of interesting. The urgency in games amuses me. You must save this person. I'll get to it after I do these things. I have a feeling the situation will be the same as when I'm done. Yeah, I actually had... God, I'm trying to remember the game that did this. So I think Fallout did this at one point, like Fallout 1. Where apparently if you took your time doing certain actions, there would be different outcomes. But there's a more specific game I was thinking of, because I talked about sort of this mod idea I had for Torchlight, which was basically supposed to be this kind of a series of events that happen over the course of a day, and depending on how quickly you got things done, it would lead to different outcomes. So like, the plot to betray the king, the two people are going to be discussing it. The two people are going to be discussing it at this time, and it's possible, in fact likely, that you'll walk in on them doing that. But if you don't, if you happen to be slow or you're doing some other thing, you miss that detail. I think the big reason why more games don't take advantage of that, of course, is that if you create these time-sensitive events, essentially what you're doing is creating content that not everyone is going to see. And the fact of the matter is that, you have limited time, or better still, you can say you have limited resources, because obviously you have a certain number of people to make games, and time is one of those resources that you need to use. And, no game, despite the fact that obviously games are really big now, no game has an unlimited budget. And so if you sit down and have to make a decision, I'm going to make this thing or that thing, and that thing happens to be, something that maybe 20% of players are going to encounter, whereas this thing is going to be something that, 100% of players or near 100% of players encounter. Clearly, the better use of your time is going to be the thing that everybody experiences. Fallout 1 had 150 days before the vault ran out of water and you lose. 250 days if you got water to the merge. Oh, okay. I thought there were like other events that were time sensitive, but as you can see, I've not played the Fallout series, so.
Okay, I'm in the shaft.
Hang on, this'll be a fast climb.
I'll be honest too, like
Tell me that assassin hasn't reached the council.
He's trying, but I'm making his elevator stop on every floor.
Nice. I found our friend.
Kill his elevator. There's a power conduit beneath it.
Yeah, damn it. I forgot.
Threat neutralized for now.
Just lob a rocket at the guy. Stasis won't help me, so. Yeah, we'll throw everything we can at it. All right, then.
Nice one, Shepard.
Shepard, bad news.
Is there any other
Oh,
kind?
that's.
That hitman jumped to another elevator and he's overridden my controls. He's
I didn't.
on his way up. I can't stop him.
I didn't know that, Starbright Knight. Most of the elevators I've been in are reasonably old, I think, so they have the problem of not being able to cancel floors. I mean, I suppose there's a there's a bit of a dilemma doing that, right? Because you allow the possibility of a passenger to cancel someone else's.
I see them. Jump.
Cancel somebody else's trip, which. You suck, Ashley.
Go.
But I do know some are set up so that if you like push, more than like 6 buttons or something like that, it just cancels. It cancels all of them.
Cerberus hit the shuttle. Everybody back to the elevator. Shepard?
Shepard's blocking our escape. She's with Cerberus.
Everybody, hang on. Shepard, what's happening here?
You know me better than this, Ash.
I knew the old Shepard before Cerberus. Right now, I'm not sure who I'm dealing with.
We don't have time to negotiate. You've been fooled, all of you. Odina's behind this attack. The Solarian Counselor confirmed it.
Please, you have no proof. You never do.
There are Cerberus soldiers in the elevator shaft behind us. If you open that door, they'll kill you all.
We've mistrusted Shepard before, and it did not help us.
We don't have time to debate this. We're dead if we stay out here. I'm overriding the lock.
I'm gonna regret this.
No, you're not.
Udina, step back from the console.
To hell with this.
Gun! Son of a bitch.
I'm not sure that's a renegade option to shoot someone who's threatening
The door!
a council member.
Bailey.
Made it as fast as we could, Shepard. Looks like you took care of things.
Something's not right. You said Cerberus was targeting us. Where did their soldiers go?
Cerberus was right here, but they beat feet into the Keeper tunnels when they figured out we were coming. Sorry, Counselor, I'll say it plain. Shepard just saved the lot of you.
And you have saved my life twice now, Shepard. I owe you both a personal debt, and one on behalf of Palaven.
You don't owe me anything, Counselor. Times like this, we all stand together.
Commander, do you have any idea why the elusive man would do this?
No, I don't. But I plan to find out.
All right, people. Principals are evacuated. We got a tunnel and 1 million more places to secure. Move it.
Yes?
Things didn't go as planned. The Council's still in control of the Citadel and Udina's dead.
Udina was expendable.
Now what?
There are other plans in motion. I'll fill you in when you return. I'm surprised you let Shepard get the better of you, Ling.
It won't happen again.
We'll see.
We looked over every centimeter of those tunnels, Shepard. Your Cerberus pal is made out of smoke and mirrors.
He likes to fight. He'll show up again.
Pardon me if I'm not reassured by that. We can't even get an ID on him. He released a VI into the Citadel system that erased footage
voice
of
star
him
break
wherever he went. I guess he didn't trust that Udina's plan would come together. That reminds me, we got your friend Thane into Huerta Memorial. He's in for surgery. Apparently, there's complications.
The assassin, or the person I'm talking with, or the elusive man? Oh, so I know him from Battlestar Galactica. I haven't watched it, but I'm pretty sure his character's name is Saul Ty. And I'm sure he's been in something else. I'm just trying to think. Because if you haven't seen Battlestar, then that's not where you'll have heard it from. But yeah, the character's name is Bailey. Actually, let's take a quick minute. We've got time, so let's find out what he's been in. So he has been in stuff going back to 1978. Let's maybe try and find something in the current millennia. Oh, Christ, I haven't seen any of this. Apparently he was the Air Force Chief of Staff in Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know any of these shows. So apparently the only thing I know him from is Battlestar. Apparently he played a general in Smallville. So a sheriff in Supernatural. So apparently if you need an authority figure, this is like your go-to guy. What's his name? Michael Hogan. I'm kind of interested myself. Apparently he's in Fargo. It says 12 Monkeys. That has to be a TV series, not the film with Brad Pitt. Apparently was in Mine in the High Castle. I don't remember him in it, but that doesn't mean anything because I haven't seen all of it. And he has been in Mass Effect 2, Fallout New Vegas, Skyrim, Mass Effect 3, and apparently some game called Terra Rising. But yeah, it looks like you'll probably know him best from TV show. But yeah, Michael Hogan, and he's a Canadian actor, which is the most important part.
Do you think he'll make it?
I caught that they didn't have much drill blood on the Citadel. I notified his next of kin, his son Koliat. He was the right blood type, but I don't know if he made it in time. We're pretty sure the route to the hospital is safe from Cerberus. If you want to see him, I'd go now.
I'll get on it.
Oh, and you can tell him the Solarian counselor says he's a hero. It just, I don't know, make things easier for him.
But yeah, so I'll admit, this is one of the few cases where not taking a renegade choice is one that I sort of felt I did the wrong. I felt like I did the wrong thing there. I'm not 100%.
Cerberus has changed their ciphers, and our code breakers aren't getting anywhere at the moment. I've got our best teams working in shifts on them, but ensuring Citadel systems integrity is just going to take time. If we can get some of their field encryption tools, maybe sample ciphers. I understand. Keep trying.
So the challenge that I ran into there is that the fact there was a Paragon option created this false impression for me that there might be, or sorry, that there was a Renegade option implied that there might be some other solution. So for instance, shoot Counselor Udina is the option that you are presented with. At least that's what I took the Renegade option as. And that sort of implied to me that there might have been another choice. And so implicitly in this game, it kind of comes down to, it's like either shoot the counselor or, leave it for somebody else to do, which I don't necessarily think is consistent with Shepard. It's definitely not consistent with how I would intend to portray this Shepard. But the problem is that it doesn't, because it's being presented as a renegade option, it sort of suggests that there might be some other way around. And I'm not entirely sure failure to act is quite the thing I had in mind. But Citadel entry authorization. Instructors at Grissom Academy have requested facilities on the Citadel to train young students who escaped the attack on the school but who are not yet ready to join the older students in combat. Citadel authorities will find room if for the students if a Spectre approves the request. I don't see any reason not to. Looks like we have the money to pick up some other goodies. I do kind of wish it would tell me what the stats on this thing was before buying, but we'll buy the Black Widow.
Let me know when you've had a chance to talk to Sedaris.
My wife is just
sent back to active duty, and I'm about to get shipped out too. I was told you might be able to help me.
Of course. You're a Neota's spouse, correct?
Yes. How did you know that?
We keep identity information on all permanent Citadel residents engaged in formal relationships with Asari. That way, should anyone require diplomatic aid, we can ensure prompt assistance.
It's wonderful. Then you can help me send my daughter back to my wife's family?
I'm afraid, however, that might be a bit difficult.
They hit where? Damn it. How are we supposed to predict the moves of an enemy we don't understand? Divert to... Crap, do we have any AI-enabled fragments of Sovereign? Any Reaper code I can analyze? No? Well, then they'll keep outmaneuvering our fleet, and Asari worlds will keep burning.
Sorry, I paused for a bit of food, but I thought there was going to be a bit more dialogue. So I think that's going to tell me I need to find some Reaper. CSEC officer needs to find updated ciphers to break Cerberus codes, find the ciphers, and deliver them at the Citadel Embassy. Reaper code fragments. An Asari war strategist needs fragments of Reaper code to predict enemy movements. Find Reaper code fragment and deliver it to her at the Citadel Embassy. So it is kind of neat. Again, I was talking about this before. It's kind of neat to see this Citadel develop over the course of the war. So this is obviously getting quite a bit more crowded. You have sort of the posters in the background to boost recruitment. They're all little touches that I like quite a bit. You too, Starbright Knight. Again, sorry it was a little bit of a dodgy stream, but it's always a pleasure to have some bodies around, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you again, EarthClan. Our military strength is minimal, but we are proud to help as we can.
Guess I didn't have anybody here.
Spectre status recognized. Please select a destination.
I think I'm going to go to the docks.
Now arriving at docking bay D24.
I'm going to work my way up to the hospital just, again, because I have a bunch of stuff I want to turn in.
I've got your briefing, Private. Let's fill you in before the squad arrives. The Alliance is posting us to an Ezo mining facility on Zani. It's a low-gravity planet, toxic atmosphere. You'll be expected to maintain full survival gear. Any questions?
Are we playing security, Sergeant Ullenby?
No, Private. We are not.
That's it?
Definitely Prothean tech on Garbug. I know the Valhallan threshold is Reaper territory now, but Prothean tech could help the Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, I'm aware this is an unsecured channel. Yes, understood. Thank you, ma'am.
Commander Shepard likes unsecured channels.
You finally made it off the Normandy.
Glad I did. Even with the chaos of all the refugees, seeing so many ships in flight is comforting. Gets me thinking. Hey, a Turian frigate. I think that's the PFS Havenkal.
What's one Turian warship doing at the Citadel?
Looking for dry dock, I bet. She's seen battle. Look at the waiver in her drive core emissions. Alone, limping, looking for a haven. Maybe it would have been better to just go down fighting, like their families back home.
Are you talking about the Turians or yourself?
I should have been there. With Robert.
But you weren't. You're alive. And that's a good thing.
Maybe so.
The lives of future generations rest on those Turian shoulders. On our shoulders. Nobody's given up. Not those Turians. Not me. Not you.
If anyone can pull this all together, it's you.
Is that an Alliance cruiser? What's it doing here?
That's the SSV London. Decommissioned years ago. Look, no guns. Refugees must have salvaged her from a shipyard. Geneva-class cruisers always had eezo cores like granite.
People find a way to survive.
Do whatever it takes to see another day. Gotta let go. For real this time. The refugees here put up a memorial wall. They leave mementos of lost loved ones. I was thinking maybe...
What's stopping you?
Nothing. I mean... Let me think about it. Your suggestion to come out here was a good one, Commander. I needed this.
I'm a little interested in terms of what the care and feeding of your crew does for the game overall, just because, you know, obviously including the... So you've got the So this kind of comes back to stuff that we've talked about before in terms of sort of the micro and macro levels. We've got a macro level game in the form of the war assets. Excuse me. This is why we let the press have a bit more access than we might normally allow on the Normandy. And this was sort of the hearts and minds argument, right? To a certain extent, I think in the case of Mass Effect 2, you do something very similar for your individual, your crewmates. You basically help them solve problems. And it doesn't just get you a fancier outfit. I think you get other dialogue options.
Please select a destination. 1 moment.
I think you get other dialogue options or potentially other things that can happen in the game. Again, I kind of have the game as I played it.
Emergency civilian housing.
And while I did allow for some variation in my playthrough, I definitely followed all sort of the side quests for the different characters and whatnot. So I'm not actually sure what happens if you don't do the loyalty missions, but presumably they don't perform as well. So I'm a little curious here for minor characters and such, whether or not there are...
needs to understand what these refugees have been through. Can't you let me in?
No.
I only need a couple of hours of footage.
You're not crossing that dock.
Wait, aren't you Commander Shepard? Solek Vast, documentary maker. Please, maybe you can help. I'm trying to document the stories of the refugees coming to the Citadel. Their loss, their sacrifices, their moments of bravery.
Something holding you back?
CSEC won't allow me on the docks. They say I'd be disruptive. But you could catch a few quick shots for me.
There are lots of refugees on the rest of the Citadel.
It won't have the same impact as seeing crowds trapped on the docks. We all need to help each other. I want this documentary to shock people into action.
Good idea. The galaxy should see what these refugees have been through.
Thank you, Commander. That's exactly what I'm hoping for. If you could just take a few shots with your Omni tool in the refugee camp. I'll be here when you're done.
I wonder if it's going to give me the photographing minigame.
I think it needs to be more about the refugees. Yes, that's just what this documentary needs.
By the way, I don't think it's really relevant to this mission, but one thing that's kind of interesting in terms of documentaries is that this is an older movie. Maybe some of you will have seen it. It's Frost/Nixon. So this is basically it's a sort of a I don't think it really counts as a biopic, but basically it's a movie about an interview with Richard Nixon and sort of the tension of the film.
I can't really use that. Could you try again, please?
The tension of it basically is Nixon is doing this interview in order to...
What are you doing here?
I'm waiting.
Waiting? Waiting for who?
For my parents. They put me on the rescue transport and said to wait for them here. They'll come find me as soon as they can.
Well, I guess this is a safe enough place. Look, if anyone bothers you, let me know. I'll take care of them.
Sure thing, sir. Thanks.
But yeah, so you've got the tension of, Nixon, someone who you pretty much regard as a bad guy, being given an opportunity to sort of put forward his narrative, and then the journalist who's of course trying to extract maybe not a confession but an apology, or just otherwise get the truth, quote unquote, of the matter through the interview. And what the movie is largely about is how, it's kind of the cat and mouse game between the two subjects. And the idea is that in the moment, sort of everyone gets knows that this is the big TV moment that's been captured. But from my understanding of that interview, and this is definitely consistent with now I don't have a ton of documentary experience, but it's not zero either. My experience has always been that, when you're out shooting stuff for a documentary, it's almost like a scavenging expedition. You're recording things, you're recording components, and that it's really in the editing where everything kind of comes through. So from my understanding of the Frost Nixon interview was that nobody actually really knew what they had a hand on. I think there's probably a bit of hagiography in terms of David Frost, where they're like, oh yeah, he was driving it towards it. And it's not unreasonable to think that there was some intention behind it, because, to a certain extent, the interviewer's got to have an idea about where they're taking things. But the reason I'm pointing this out, when it comes to when it comes to this little side bit here, the idea of recording all of these little shots. So like when he says, I don't think that one would work. Like when you have, unless you're well and truly out of tape. Hey, Mr. Franz, great to see you. He says, I don't think that'll work. Like still taking the shot work. Like, so the first one that he said wouldn't work out. I think it needs to be more about the refugees. Like this is a fine establishing shot for what will be, this moment here. Now this is, the gold mine for the documentary, but that's not a criticism or anything like that. It's kind of neat to see the director telling me what I should be recording and whatnot. The only thing I will say about it is that if he's able to sort of see what I'm recording at the moment, like surely he would be directing me at this point, saying, like, hey, go over to that thing over there, tell me what it looks like. So I'm managing, Mr. Franz. I didn't have anything to eat before I started the stream, so I had a bit of an appetizer now, and I've been slowly picking away at the food in front of me, without trying to completely dominate the cast with the sound of me chewing on something or getting in the way of the gameplay. But boy, oh boy, have I been looking for some food. And I'll admit I'm feeling a little bit under the weather since starting the stream. I don't know. I think everybody's kind of got it a little hard right now, so I don't mean to point myself out as a special case, but it's just been a really rough few months, and I'm trying to find some equilibrium.
Thank you, human. We will hold the pillars close to our hearts and persevere.
Well, that's very kind of you, Mr. Franz. Thank you. I hope you're doing well yourself. Like, this is the big thing. Like, this is not supposed to be, a broadcast pity party or anything like that. Like, for the most part, I'm doing fine. And it's just life. I'll get through it. It's not, there's nothing critical going on, let's say. But there is also just the, I suppose when stuff sort of stacks on top of it, stuff stacks on top of itself, it winds up going from, all right, this is something I can manage and doesn't bear comment, to and instead it kind of becomes, okay, this is actually really starting to get to me, so you need to talk. No problem at all. I'll definitely
tell you someone sabotaged the Metagel dispensers. No, if I knew who, I'd have had them arrested. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I've got Turian soldiers dying for lack of medication. Damn it, I'm telling you someone sabotaged the Metagel dispensers. No, if I knew who, I'd have had them arrested.
Oh, congratulations, Mr. Franz. It's great to hear.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Who said that?
I don't believe it. Hey, Commander.
James, enjoying yourself?
Yeah.
Try not to lose everything. Those clothes are Alliance property.
Have a little faith, Commander.
I have a little.
My faith in this guy is represented entirely through the number of times I've taken him on missions.
About time.
There's nothing this galaxy can't beat if we all work together.
I feel like there should be more that I can do here. Like, I'm pretty sure I wound up picking up some missions that I needed to.
Listen, please, we just need more food. I can give you the location of some ruins. Prothean ruins, on Gay Hinnom in the Hades Nexus.
Son of a bitch.
If you could get past the Reaper patrols, I'm sure you'd find something valuable. That's got to be worth something. Please, my family is starving.
Son of a bitch.
I love how completely inappropriate James' reactions are to the conversation being had right there.
I fixed the sabotage. The Metagel dispensers should be working now.
Thank you. I'll get patients moving through triage immediately. I wish we could have found the bastard responsible for the sabotage. But this is going to save a lot of lives. Thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the problems that James had, like, he may be a really interesting character, but I haven't really had that much of an opportunity to get to know him in this game. Whenever I do, he's basically hitting on me. And, like, I guess there's something to be said. I don't know if this is just about, like, science fiction audiences or if this is about...
I have your footage.
Thank you, Commander. I'll start editing it right away. Thank you, Commander. I'll start editing it right away.
I just think there's something about, like, the idea of having... So, like, I'm gonna... This is gonna be, like, a super stereotype. So, like, stereotypes are tough because...
Are highlighted on the elevator menu.
Thanks. I think I figured that out, but... I'm pretty sure I've been to Citadel embassies before, but I'm gonna go there just so that I can get the thing to shut up.
Now arriving at Presidium Embassy.
Yeah, we have definitely been here. But so here's the problem with stereotypes. Like, they usually have some basis in reality. More often than not, they're a very unhelpful way of thinking about things, because the simplifications or the abstractions that they introduce take away meaningful, sort of meaningful details that sort of get to the heart of what you're talking about. But with that in mind, so I'm going to say that probably as a whole, science fiction fans are going to be a bit more like me than James Vega. I mean, I might have Vega's height. I would probably be a 16th of his size. And, you know, like, I like reading, I like science fiction stuff.
Spectre status recognized.
You
One
know,
moment, please.
things like...
Now arriving at Ward's level, Purgatory.
He's a bit more normal with the male. I mean, that's interesting on its own. I think that's actually really clever on the part of...
You do not understand. The code of the ancients is the collected wisdom of our people. With overwhelming sadness, it was lost when the Kuna fell. Without it, we lacked the guidance we need. With
Yes, I mean, it's really interesting if, depending on which version of Shepard you play, whether or not your perceptions of James are different. And again, that's a really clever touch on BioWare's part. But I think, yeah, the big problem is that for me as like a science fiction fan, right? What I've basically got is in the middle of my, in the third part of my science fiction epic in which I'm the hero, and I get to appreciate all the details about the space elves and the space orcs and the space gnomes.
Good. Concussion's almost gone.
Good. When I heard you were injured.
It was stupid. I should have ducked when that wall came down. Something good has come out of all this, though. Got new equipment. Sent me a set of Vortex armor. Man, summoning supply sure messed that one up.
Oh, I've heard those are pretty good.
It's great. I'd only be safer inside a tank. That's why Vortex gear costs more than I make in a year.
Yeah, this is actually, Mr. Franz, why I'm a little reluctant to like speak too generally about science fiction fans, because I know you're athletic. So obviously I'm speaking in broad strokes. But like basically, I think the problem with James, and when I say the problem with James is that it's not a criticism of the game so much as the difficulty in terms of relating with James, is that basically here I am. I'm in the third part of a science fiction trilogy that I really like. I'm a science fiction fan, so chances are I like reading. I don't not exercise, but I am very inconsistent with it. I am incredibly skinny, and this was true even when I was working in film and routinely, picking up heavy things and putting them down again throughout the day, and eating a little bit better as well. These things have been pretty consistent throughout my life. So when I have like some bro like Flint Ironstag show up, and he's not really contributing a whole lot other than to hit on my character, I'm not gonna have the warmest feelings towards this kind of a person. There's potentially an interruption to my my otherwise enjoyable experience. Now, again, like this is why I said this stuff about stereotypes to begin with, because I know lots of people who by any stretch of the imagination would be considered jocks, who are actually very decent people, and you can carry on a conversation with them. They have interests, if not the same as my own, then at least comparable. So this isn't to make an overly broad statement, but you get that probably not the biggest target audience for this. I'm intimidated by James' stature. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's built that way. I think the biggest thing too is I'm not entirely sure his presence is really explained all that well. Like it's not that he doesn't come out of, he doesn't just suddenly appear, but I'm not entirely sure his presence has been really fully justified. But yeah, like every opportunity, like I haven't really had any opportunities to get to know him particularly well. And the few times that I have had dialogue options with him, I've basically had to slap down his unprofessional advances, which, again, probably gives me an insight into workplace dynamics that maybe I haven't experienced before. But it's... as far as a character is concerned, it's really hard for me to feel like this guy is pulling a lot of weight. Jug's a stereotype for a reason, sadly. Plenty of teammates that are major meatheads that are about as bad as you can imagine. Yeah, well, I mean, this is just it. Like, as I said, like it's not that these things don't come out of experience, and the question is whether or not it's taking you to a productive place. So, I'm ultimately talking about my perceptions of a character in a game like this. And that is going to, the stereotype is going to work because it's largely dealing with my perceptions and how I first encounter a character like this in a game. Obviously, if I were to turn around and then say everyone who's into sports isn't into reading books, for some people that's true. I've met people like that. But it's, no more. Oh, wow. I did not realize that these things are like, I don't even think they have textures. Is that a bug, or did I just never realize that those things have absolutely no detail on them? Sorry, I realize this is totally unrelated to the gameplay, but this is fascinating. See, I love finding stuff like this because it just shows me how utterly bamboozled I'm constantly getting in these games. Like there's an audience in the background here. That sort of makes sense to me because once you're, when you're going to be hitting the VIP area here, it sort of makes sense to have a bit of a background. But I don't know if this is a bug or if this is intentional, but that's so fascinating that like they're able to get away with just, low poly versions without textures of everyone. And it took me 2 trips to this area to actually realize that like they're not even animated. The people on that platform too. They've never been textured. One of the more rushed elements. Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because like let's face it, we're going to be going inside this area here, right? I mean, I guess because I'm moving between these areas, they can pull. I don't really know what the capabilities were at this. Like, obviously when you play a game like Anthem, there's a big, wide open area and it's flipping assets in and out pretty rapidly. But I mean, this is a pretty involved area. I'm assuming that you can't, you can't throw everything into the realization of the area. Yeah, so like these guys are basically cardboard cutouts. That's fascinating. I'm sorry I'm doing this, guys, but this is really neat just to see how they. So what I'm doing is I'm going through an environment right now that before, like, I was completely sold on being like a, admittedly kind of empty for the parts I was looking at, but as a whole, like, somewhat full and interesting club. And now I'm totally, like, I'm realizing just how, how they completely put me in their pocket for this. So like, they're creating, I guess, the dances by like moving these people around a little bit. You got the same guy who's like drinking, he's talking with the Asari, and then like down the stairs behind him, you've got the exact same guy in the exact same position, and then behind him, the exact same guy in the exact same position. You've got, what does interest me is why some of these guys without textures are sort of mixed in. So I kind of want to know what it is about that spot that made it something that you want like a 3D model for. I guess maybe because when I move through, I'm going to see them from another angle. But yeah, like this is fascinating. How they've created this sense of space. Oh, wonderful, Mr. Franz. How are you enjoying that?
This sucks. What have you got there? Duty roster for the students.
Did they need to put the nipples on the outfit?
Spread out across Alliance units, reinforcing barriers, modding ammo, that kind of thing. How are they holding up? They're fine. They're not the ones reading duty rosters while on shore leave. Complain if you like, but I think military life suits you. Hey, running back to the Alliance was your lifelong dream, not mine. Come on, plenty of combat, free room and board, and people you can depend on. Yeah. Maybe your little suicide squad taught me something about teamwork. Speaking of which, thanks. My guys are handling the support stuff well. Still see some action, but they're not on the front lines. They've saved a lot of lives. It'd be a hell of a lot more fun with you. You find bigger fights. But the little shits are useless without me. I gotta stick with them. 'Cause I'm dependable now, apparently. I blame you for this, Shepard. Come on. What? The duty rosters can wait. Right now, you're on shore leave. Shepard, everybody knows you can't dance.
It's a nice little acknowledgement of the dance animations in the previous game.
I miss Afterlife.
Is-
Why'd you drag me out here?
You still got that merchant freighter?
Yeah,
Looking for work.
might as well. What you got?
So are you, is your focus on film then, Mr. Friends? So you said it's been fantastic so far, really had a great start, although it's online for the most part. Still learning a lot about how to structure a story, making a character arc that's worth something in filming in general. I do have some of the DLCs. So I have EA Play Pro. So I did buy the game, but with EA Play Pro, I got a bunch of upgrades. I cannot stop looking at this bartender dancing instead of actually, this would be the ultimate Easter egg in the game, which is like everybody makes fun of Shepard's dancing for like a full hour, and if you put up with it, your payoff is that you have that dance animation applied to Shepard. But what was I going to say? It's filming and potentially sharing some sports documentaries or promo making for studies and shit. That's really cool. The documentary is so we talked about this a little bit earlier, but now that I know you're doing studies along these lines, this might be slightly more interesting. One of the things that's really interesting is it's really easy for people who want to make pure fictional work. So you want to become a short film director or something, or feature film director for that matter. It's like, why do I have to do documentaries? This isn't related to what I want to do. But ultimately, dealing with the world as it is and being able to craft that into a narrative is an incredibly valuable experience on its own. Because, of course, the mechanisms through which you communicate a story are going to be the same, right? You've got the shot, you've got the edit, you've got sound. All of these elements are going to be the same, whether it's a documentary or a pure work of fiction. Now, admittedly, the acquisition of the source material is going to be very different. Although, I mean, obviously, there's like cinema verite and there's dogme and stuff like that. There's some cases where certain approaches are maybe going to be a little bit closer to documentary filmmaking than others. But like for the most part, the acquisition of sort of the material that you'll be working with in the editing room is different for a documentary versus a feature. But in the end, like nobody cares about the trouble you had getting your shots. Nobody cares about whether or not your main interview subject didn't say what you wanted them to say. What they care about is the finished product. So it's I think a very helpful exercise to have a sort of a diversity of subjects in terms of communicating stories through film, through edits, because in the end you start to maybe question some of the things that you need. So like you can create an artificial sense of drama by having a scene of very flat dialogue, and then you just put on some appropriately overwrought music, and it will fill it with a sense of dread or a sense of aspiration purely from the music cue. But at that point, why don't you just become a musician? Because very clearly your interest and your talent lie in the creation of emotions through music. Now, it doesn't mean that these were... I mean, Mass Effect does this wonderfully, right? It's got a great soundtrack, and it definitely creates memorable moments through its combination of all these elements. And I mean, sometimes I've pointed out other cases where it's like, okay, you've got the single female voice, over the soundtrack now, so we know somebody's about to die or there's going to be a really hard decision being made. Like, it's not perfect in this regard, but it definitely creates a certain investment in what's going on. And again, the more you can sort of strip away over-reliance on these techniques, and instead what you're doing is you're allowing excellence in your visual portrayals to be matched with excellence in music, you ultimately become a better storyteller. And I think that's one of the advantages you get from working with other material. As you've noticed, I might have some opinions about films. Oh, actually, I wasn't meaning to drink, but I'm on shore leave, as the game reminded me, so. I've been well trained by the game. Basically, if I see more dancing. Every time I see an orange, oh, this is neat. I think I've seen this before, but I like this idea of like the 4 stages moving up and down. Although, why no burly Krogan dancers? Also, is she even dancing? Okay, yes, she is moving. I was like, yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. I don't like, obviously my views on filmmaking, or my views on what makes a good story or a game. I mean, if you've hung out in a bunch of the Mass Effect streams, you know that even my views for this playthrough in particular are not universally shared, potentially are oversimplified in some cases, but at the very least I can offer you my reasons for why I think what I do, and then you can decide which things you think are valuable to your own work, which in my view is kind of how you get better. Because I mean, let's face it, right? It's not like I've made anything that people are going to want to go out and see. You know, I was definitely more a technician more than anything, but that doesn't mean that there aren't lessons to be drawn from that, and things that can be pulled from that perspective. You know, I could maybe take it the other way around. Like, you know, if Stanley Kubrick left us all of his notes about how he made the films that he worked on, it still wouldn't necessarily make us any closer to being able to make Stanley Kubrick films, because obviously the ability to operate in a field doesn't necessarily mean that you're able to communicate your process in a way that that's actually making, you know, I think to a certain extent some creative people largely don't understand how what they do works. That's maybe a little oversimplified, like there is some craft, but you know, in some cases even like there's a reason why the where do you get your ideas from question is hard to answer, because you know, some people just, you know, wake up one day and it's like, what if I did this? And then, you know, well, maybe I do this thing over here, and then maybe I take that one. Like, you got a sequence of problems that you're trying to solve, and then, you know, you wake up and you've got a really good story. But what that doesn't do is that doesn't tell someone how the solution that you arrived at is necessarily the best solution. Someone can be faced with the same problem and have a very cliche or a very uninteresting solution to that problem. Or maybe they don't come up with a solution to the problem, and the work never gets made, or the work suffers as a result. So, you know, it's turtles all the way down. Like, there's always going to be another problem trying to do something creative like that. All right, there is nothing for me to say to Edie, I guess.
No, the problem is that our people are terrible at making war. The library at Asha had sacred texts on the ways of the hunters, the defining works on the art of battle. But the Nimbus cluster has already fallen, and our people are here dancing instead of fighting.
Well, actually, you know, George Lucas is kind of interesting too. You might be interested in a blog that I wrote called, I think it was 2 Art Movies. I'll try and find it. If you're around by the end of the cast, I'll try and find it for you before I host someone. That one deals with a filmmaker called Arthur Lipsett, which, if you've seen George Lucas's student film, THX 1138-40B, it's pretty clear that it's a pretty heavy... I don't know if I should say rip-off or deep homage to the works of Arthur Lipsett, a Canadian filmmaker who's largely working for the National Film Board, although wasn't for his entire career. So if you look at that, and you look at Lucas's original intention and inspirations to be an experimental filmmaker like Lipsett, and then the success that he met with American Graffiti, and then the trilogies, the Star Wars trilogy, it's kind of interesting to see that arc on its own. They have to hit the hay soon as 4 a.m. You got classes tomorrow, but I'll message you tomorrow about it. Yeah, great, Mr. Franz. Yeah, and please do take care of yourself, because school isn't around forever. It's best to make the most out of the experience while you can.
Look at this! All it took was a Cerberus attack on the Citadel to get folks around here to pay attention to the war.
How's this any different from normal?
Can't you see the desperation? This isn't happy dancing. This is forget my problems dancing. Look at the arms. If a guy waves his arms like that, he's worrying about a lot more than looking stupid on the dance floor.
That's surprisingly observant.
I've had time to watch a lot of dancing from the sidelines. Speaking of which...
Dancing?
Watching from the sidelines. What do you think about me and Edie?
You sure that's a good idea?
Edie's not Alliance personnel. There's no regulation against dating a ship's AI. I looked it up.
Jeff, you have brittle bones. She's made of metal.
Well, yeah, but... Yeah, you're right. Stupid.
If you could be out there right now on the dance floor, would you be waving your arms?
Yeah.
Sounds like you got bigger things to worry about than looking stupid.
Yeah, guess I do. Now, if you'll excuse me...
I'm not going to turn him away from Edie. I do really like that he looked up the regulations, though. Again, these are little details that I'm fond of, just in terms of... Okay, I have to hear what Edie has to say about this.
Haven't broken anything yet. That's a start.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for stopping by, Mr. Franz.
Look who's here. I hope this isn't a social visit. We still have work to do around here. We'll talk later. I'm sure.
I'll just do one more pass in this area to make sure I didn't have anybody else to talk with, but... So yeah, it looks like there's that really big area in on the I guess it's Presidium. Sorry, again, I can't get over all the tricks. That one kind of makes a little more sense to me, or sort of up here because it's all in silhouette. I guess the one last thing I'm going to try and figure out here is what's going on with the 3D models. Because the funny thing is I don't actually think... I don't actually think I see them from any other angles. Huh. One day I'll know exactly what went into the creation of that. It's really neat though. Like I said, I love finding stuff like that. I feel like I probably was checking this stuff out before. Like, okay, so one of the examples I'll give as to why this is interesting to me is that it's so interesting to see.
Please select a destination. 1 moment.
In my view, it becomes really interesting to.
No, I'm seeing it here too. We're low on metagel and synthetic blood, and we don't have enough volunteers. If we could get the rings of Elune from the Salian Nebula, we could declare a cultural crisis. People would have to listen.
So when you have...
They're not just symbolic. The Asari revere Elune. She wore these rings after learning medicine from Athame herself. She was like a Dalatress for your people. If we displayed her rings, we'd get more Asari support in the hospitals.
Looks like I got a bunch of side quests that I just signed up for. So if you take a... if you take a movie and like you put it on mute, you kind of become a little bit more aware, and like you look for it, you kind of become more aware of like what's a set, and like stuff that might look like a big heavy stone thing is probably styrofoam, especially if someone's picking it up. And none of these are faults of the story. What they are instead is they're a great way of learning how the movie worked on you. And there is a certain type of personality, I'm almost certainly one of them, that gets really interested in that. There's an equivalent for games. So I think one of the first times I kind of became conscious about it was I was playing Grand Theft Auto 5, and I was like really impressed by how good it looked. And then totally at random, like I went out on kind of like a big stretch of desert road and just got out of my car and like ran into the middle of the area and looked around, and beneath my feet it's like the sort of texture you would expect out of like the desert levels in Half-Life. Like it's or maybe even lower than that. Like it's so obviously a very low resolution image. And it makes sense, because why would anyone get out in the middle of a stretch of open desert in Grand Theft Auto 5 where there's nothing to do? And so there's the illusion of desert that's been presented without wasting resources on something that that isn't necessary. Also, like once I started looking for that sort of stuff, like the tops of the cars look amazing, and then if you look underneath the car, it's very bare bones, because of course, how often do you spend time looking at the bottoms of cars in Grand Theft Auto 5? Not much. You need the suggestion that there's something there, not the reality of what's there. So I become a little bit more conscious about it as I play, and so again, like I get completely sucked into games. None of that stuff I noticed the first time I visited. But sort of discovering it on a second path is always kind of fun, just to realize.
And once the alarm was sounded,
Naira's eyes were black. The whole time, not just for a second. I could feel her mind from where I was standing. The humans were in the way, attacking us. I used my bionics, flung them around. I'd been horrified when Naira tore the farmers apart, but goddess, I ripped them in half. And it felt good.
There's nothing shameful about feeling an adrenaline rush during battle.
I might have killed more than Naira and those husks did. She wanted them alive, to turn them, and I...
And you survived.
I'm just going to take a quick minute here to make sure it's not a priority mission. Okay, so it looks like there isn't a priority mission yet. That's good. I may not be able to get onto another mission tonight, just looking at the hour and the fact that I'm probably going to be a little more strict on finishing, simply because every extra hour that I put into streaming is an hour that I don't eat. But I do want to try and turn in some of the side quest stuff, and then we can catch up on Friday.
There's got to be something. I don't know what Cerberus was packing, but we're going to lose this patient.
Without a new treatment plan, we're stuck, and I can't think of anything beyond what we've already tried.
I know, but I can't think of anything else. Can you?
You know what? I should have checked those stores a lot more frequently for that thermal pipe. I doubt we'll find it in the hospital, but probably the refugee areas.
I understand Paladin is very busy, but this is one of your own generals. He was stabbed with a poisoned blade by a Cerberus soldier during the attack on the Citadel. We can't identify the toxin. We're barely keeping him alive right now. It's some form of neurotoxin. If you could look at our charts... Of course, I understand. Even a general is just one man. Good luck. Who are we to choose who lives or dies? That's not what we do. We help our patients, all of them.
That's a nice sentiment, but it won't help when we run out of supplies. I've seen this happen in combat before. And we will run out of supplies. Have you seen the projections the administration center made?
I have. The situation is going to get worse. What's your point?
We can't deny the facts. If we prioritize them, some of our patients are in a much better position to survive. If we take care of them first and ration our supplies, we can save some now and enable ourselves to save more later.
We cannot do that. We swore an oath to help the sick regardless of their economic situations or their places in society. Who are we to choose who lives or dies? That's not what we do. We help our patients, all of them.
That's a nice sentiment, but it won't
Okay,
help when we
so
run out of supplies.
100%
I've seen this happen in combat before.
doctors don't think that way. Like, this decision is made alarmingly frequently. I'm not saying it's right that it is, but I am still inclined to support the
We're fighting
Solarian.
right now to protect the people you're talking about. If you let these people die, that fight is for nothing.
It's not that simple. If we aren't careful about this now, we'll end up losing everyone.
Then we'll find a way. Look, we have more fortunate patients, right?
Yes, and I hate to say it, but the fortunate ones have far better survival odds.
And more credits. So we ask them for donations to get more supplies for those without credits.
What? Are you saying what I think you're saying? That's... You know, that actually might work.
So, like, my view...
Can I help you?
I'm looking for a Drell named Thane Krios.
Well, we have a Drell, but not under that name.
He was injured. Stab wound. He's a regular patient here.
It's all right, it's all right. I see. The doctors were able to repair a lot of the trauma. However, Mr. Krios is in the final stages of Keprel's syndrome. At its worst, Keprel's syndrome interferes with his blood's ability to carry oxygen, and he lost a lot. Now, they've given him transfusions, but frankly, there was a very limited supply of Drell blood on the Citadel.
I'll get more. Give me his blood type.
That's not going to work. Only one other Drell on the station is a match, and that Drell is in with him now. We did all we could to help him through surgery, but his body can't replace lost blood with new cells. Too much shock. His son, Koliat, he's in there saying his goodbyes. You might want to say yours.
Commander Shepard, my father mentioned you were no longer incarcerated. I don't know if you remember me. I'm Koliak Krios. I came to donate blood and, well, he asked me to take off his oxygen mask so he could be comfortable. I don't think it will be very long.
But yeah, so like there's a great example here. Like the biggest disagreements I had with that physician was just simply the idea that we're going to save some supply. Like, we're going to deny care to the people we have right now in the name of saving some supplies later for these unknown people who are somehow, we have some estimate that they're going to be a more likely survivor. Like that, I'm not entirely sure I agree with that point of view. I do think it's necessary and important to, allocate the scarce resources. Questions of organ donation. There's a shortage of donors. There's a larger number of people who need organs than there are organs, and clearly decisions are going to be made. Those decisions are ultimately going to decide who lives and who dies. That strikes me as something very different from sort of saying that there's some threshold under which you stop treating people. Although I think that also happens in hospitals too. Anyways.
Your father helped me save a lot of lives. I'd like to be here.
Of course.
Commander, I'm afraid I won't be joining you again.
You've done more than enough, Thane.
That assassin should be embarrassed. A terminally ill Drow managed to stop him from reaching his target.
I'll pass the word along.
There's something I must do before it gets worse. I must... Kalahira, mistress of inscrutable depths, I ask forgiveness. Kalahira, whose waves wear down stone and sand.
Kalahira, wash the sins from this one, and set him on the distant shore of the infinite spirit.
Koliad, you speak as the priests do. You have been spending time with them.
I brought a prayer book. Commander, would you care to join me? Kalahira. This one's heart is pure, but beset by wickedness and contention.
Guide this one to where the traveler never tires. The lover never leaves. The hungry never starve. Guide this one, Kalahira, and she will be a companion to you as she was to me. Koyat. Why did the last verse say she?
The prayer was not for him, Commander. He has already asked forgiveness for the lives he has taken. His wish was for you.
Goodbye, Thane. You won't be alone long.
Again, that was a nice little moment. Although I'm really curious how they do that one with the male shepherd. I actually I like that Mr. Franz was able to point out some of the differences with James when you're playing the Monsieur Commander. I kind of like that the game actually makes an effort to give different experiences and sort of different hits. So, like, obviously, some subtlety in terms of language as far as, you know, what that reveals about certain things. I mean, like, here's a really interesting choice, which I'm not sure would be the right one, but at the very least would count as an interesting one, that the same cutscene plays for both the male and female shepherd. The male shepherd, because it does not have the linguistic trick, does not result in the revelation as to who the prayer is for. It is only when playing female shepherd that you actually get sort of the other shoe to drop. Now again, like, it's tricky. This, by the way, wouldn't be new to games necessarily, because there's lots of games which will communicate certain mental states for characters given the dialogue options. So, you know, there's sort of this, this inner monologue that's going on. The character doesn't necessarily say something, but you know what they're thinking about, given the fact that there's the dialogue option. Whereas I think most people's experience of those kinds of options are, you're given options. If you don't take an option, then it's not what, it was at no point it was like not in the character's head, let's say. And both are legitimate, both are interesting choices, and it's more of a question about what the game developer does on its own. So, in one sense, I think Mass Effect would be a game where you can sort of get away with a choice like that if you were to have a major event, like what happened with...
CERTA is a non-profit organization dedicated to the medical needs of all sapient life. Thank you for shopping.
Mass Effect is a sort of game where, at least for me, I'm reading all the codex entries and I'm invested in the world. I think it's fair to say that people who play this are probably invested in the world, and so it's possible that they may play it multiple times and so be able to pick up on those details. But obviously, if you play a game which is only intended to be played once, and that's everyone's sort of individual experience, then you may want to hold off from decisions like that, because it's probably just going to be more obscure than anything.
We tried to run again, but we were blocked. And the farm girl, her leg was broken, bleeding bad. I knocked down a wall in a barn with a big warp field. I was so proud of that. And we hid.
They must have searched for you.
I'm an Asari huntress. No damn husk is gonna find me unless I let it.
But the farm girl who was with you?
Her leg was broken. She was whimpering in the Naira. I saw her through a hole in the boards. She was coming closer with those dead black eyes. And Hillary, the farm girl, she couldn't stop crying. They were gonna hear.
What did you do?
What do you think?
recognized. Please select a destination.
So I think Presidium Commons is going to be where I get to turn in most of my side quests. Again, I suspect probably we'll be ending the stream on the Citadel. I'll try and get as much done as I can, and then...
Listen, I thought of something. No, it can't wait until I'm back on duty. The Hesperia period. Their statues had legendarily accurate Prothean inscriptions. Can we use that? Yes, I know the Athena Nebula is off limits, but this... a classified project. It needs all the Prothean intel we can find. I haven't found any reliable pictures, but just think. If those statues had something that could help us, even today...
Sorry, guys, I just need to tab out for one quick second. I'll be back in just a moment. Great. But yeah, I'll try and get through as much as I can.
And I'm closing my account.
Your account helps fund Citadel defense. If you shut it down and hide the money under your bed, it hurts the war effort.
And if Cerberus attacks again and takes the Citadel, my money is gone. I'll take my chances on my own. Thank you.
So you're fleeing the Citadel? Running to Sanctuary? If you trust the Council, you'll stay here.
Why should I trust them? They couldn't stop Cerberus. What could they possibly do about the Reapers?
Guy makes a point.
Nothing if you take your money and hide.
Have you seen Palaven or Earth? You can't escape this war. At least here you've got the Council fighting for you.
But to fight, they need money. Money this bank has loaned them using accounts like yours.
Okay, damn it. Leave the account open.
Besides, how can someplace like Sanctuary promise more safety than the Citadel?
You're right. Guess all we can do is hope for the best.
Welcome to Elkos Combine Arsenal Supplies.
These conduits channel massive quantities of thermal energy via the thermal conductive...
Don't be left out in the cold. Ask about our full-service warranties.
Thermal conductive gel. They typically are used in the cooling systems of large-scale ESO drive cores. So
If it exists, visit any of our Elkos Combine affiliate branches for any and all personal needs.
that should take care of at least one of the side quests.
I recovered the Book of Plenix. It's waiting for you in Bay D24.
Earth Clan, this is a priceless gift. Thank you. You may help my people remember themselves. Thank you, Earth Clan.
Welcome to Kanala Exports.
I'm a little tempted for the upgrades here, but
Offer goods for security and peace of mind.
just want to improve my aquarium.
Cultivating serenity is possible even during times of crisis.
Yeah, serenity in the form of weapons modifications.
Can't believe how hard the doctors are working to keep that terrorist bastard alive.
He's in intensive care?
He got blasted by Cerberus. They think he's just another victim.
Rex stated that his support of the Turians proves that the Krogan are ready to return to the Citadel. Reaper forces continue their assault on Asari space, claiming the Nimbus cluster and the Selene Nebula.
It is kind of neat to say. I mean, it's not hard to do,
The
but
Krogan are the only race that can fight on the toxic world, so they need support. Well, ideally, something like a cacliosaur. They're good in mountains, immune to toxins, ferociously loyal to their riders. Yes, they'd be ideal. Unfortunately, they were driven to extinction during the Rachni War. So, unless we can engineer something new, Krogan on toxic worlds will have to fight on foot without support.
I do kind of like the fact that the news broadcasts kind of match some of the things that the characters are talking about. I mean, again, it's just a matter of unlocking certain material as time goes by, but it's a touch that I like. Again, just being able to walk, it sort of feels like this level on the Citadel more than most is definitely reacting quite strongly to what's happening in the galaxy. So this is the one with sort of the most obvious damage from the Cerberus assault. Although obviously the hospital keeps, growing with the number of wounded, and then you have
Another Cerberus trap? Bomb or turret? How many this time? Clear the area until you've done a full sweep. You need a way to find their tech and shut it off safely.
These are control schematics for Cerberus turrets. Will these help?
Damn right they will. I'll have E-Crimes dig into them. Might even help us find the little present Cerberus left for us. Thanks a lot. This is gonna save lives.
But yeah, like basically just getting little details, again, it's just the storytelling without having...
Scene contains large scorch marks that were used to towers. Entire area shot to hell. Precision shots. I heard the Geth use jamming towers to prevent auto-targeting. If we had tech like that, we might save some lives next time somebody attacks the Citadel.
You want my security vids, bring me a warrant.
You're stonewalling me? Those vids could be vital to the war effort.
I doubt the Reapers have agents doing business in my cafe.
We're trying to protect you.
Hell of a job you're doing. See those scorch marks? Cerberus killed one of my servers right there. Where were you?
Hey, I lost friends too. If you care about finding the Cerberus informants who made it happen, you'll give me the vids.
I'm all for due process, but we're siding with
We're
the
at
CSEC.
war. If you care about the safety of the Citadel, you'll help CSEC however you can.
Thank you, Commander.
I have some high-profile customers. If word gets out that I'm ratting them out to CSEC.
You think I care about insider trading, electronic smuggling right now? I'm after the bastards who attacked the city. Nobody else. You've got my money.
All right. Just... I hope it helps.
Ashley Williams, the second human Spectre, assisted Commander Shepard in preventing Cerberus forces from killing the Council.
But yeah, so basically, if you can have a comment on the state of the war by looking at the number of people who want to send a message back home, if you can talk about, people's confidence, let's say in something like what Joker says, look at the arms, this isn't, you've got bigger problems than worrying about looking like an idiot. These are great little details that will tell you about the state of the world. One thing that's wonderful about modern gaming is that you are able to realize much bigger worlds than you would have in an older games. And obviously, Mass Effect 3 is a reasonably old game now. You can take a look at even more modern examples and see lots of really interesting details. One example I like to highlight is Battlefield 1. There was one of the war stories is one about a tank, and sort of the tank is a character as much as anyone inside of the tank. Maybe that's not the perfect example because that's not necessarily talking about the environment you find yourself in. Although I would say that probably the prologue to Battlefield 1 is an excellent example. Number 5 is actually a really good example too because it goes all around the world. It's they're both spectacular for their own reasons. But again, this sort of stuff, to me at least, always winds up being more impactful than having sort of a narrator or voiceover saying, it's like, I look around and I see all these frightened faces, and I know that the war is not going well. To be able to have another character, something about Joker, like the Joker moment's a really wonderful one, and it's a single line of dialogue, but it's a consistency throughout Mass Effect where you learn something about Joker, right? The guy who probably wasn't on a lot of dance floors and instead was watching people. You find out about the state of the war because he's able to use those insights and to say, hey, here's what's going on. It comments on the situation, it establishes some stakes, and it does it without necessarily having to, to kind of go for the more ham-fisted, hard-boiled detective approach.
Commander Shepard.
General Araka. I think we met in Korra's den. You were pretty miserable, if I recall.
Yes, neck deep in drink just before I retired. I'm clean now, reinstated.
I hear you're taking on the Blue Suns.
I need to do my part for the Citadel, Commander. The Blue Suns are raiding CSEC weapons shipments. I'm putting a stop to that. Those mercs are seriously jeopardizing the Citadel's ability to defend itself if the war comes here.
when the war comes here.
There are other ways to secure weapons, General.
You don't think I've tried? There's a black market dealer on Citadel right now, but he won't sell his top-line arms. The Reapers are destroying everything in their path, and I can't stop them. But I can stop the Blue Suns.
Let me see what I can do for you.
I'd appreciate your help, and I'll have a plan of action ready if things fall through.
I didn't make the connection that that guy was the same one.
Longer, we'd have gotten the obelisk of Karza. I know the Hades nexus is off limits. I'm not an idiot. Damn it, the Alliance needs that thing right now. The obelisk of Karza was supposed to contain Prothean language translations, like the Rosetta Stone for Protheans. Think of how much it could have helped us understand.
We seem to be leaving a lot of really important artifacts, but I mean, I guess in one extent you can sort of justify it with desperate times, but there's a lot of stuff that people are leaving behind, and I need to pick up.
Welcome to Casa Fabrication Weaponry.
For the best in the business, come to Casa.
Proceeds from Thank you for shopping at Casa Fabrication Weaponry serving in the Alliance.
Welcome to the Citadel gift shop. All proceeds from today's purchases go toward the Turian war effort.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. You need to hear this.
Oh, Blue Rose of Helium. If these humble words reach you, then I have joined my ancestors.
No, no, no.
My dream was to be by your side, a weed beside your beauty, twining together in the warm Tuchanka sun.
Oh, Char.
But though you needed room to grow, still, I will remember the perfume of the scent and the soft touch of your petals. If my heart could not shelter you from the storm, then let my broken bones build a wall around your garden, so you can grow safe and happy.
Thank you. I need to go.
Good, that's a nice little touch.
Welcome to Nosastra Sporting Goods.
I certainly wouldn't have
Thank you for shopping at Nosastra Sporting Goods.
wouldn't have thought to do that with a Krogan. Or
Rules be damned. People have a right to defend themselves.
If you start selling weapons to everyone on the Citadel, CSEC will shut this whole place down.
CSEC couldn't protect us when Cerberus attacked.
Would a bunch of civilians shooting at anything that moves make the Citadel safer?
The commander's right. Maybe if the Council organizes a civilian militia with training. Otherwise, they'll just panic and get themselves killed.
I just want people to be safe.
I know, but second-guessing CSEC isn't the way. What if we submit a proposal to start a militia?
Okay, that'd be something.
Welcome to Agor Munitions. Thank you for shopping at Agor Munitions.
Look, Commander, I don't want any trouble. I'm authorized to sell here, and all my arms are legal, see?
These are lightweight weapons. Where's your top-end inventory?
Shit, you slumming for CSEC too? I already got harassed by the old Turian with the bad attitude. Yeah, I got much better stuff, but it's off the market. Galaxy's going belly up. Credit won't mean anything once the Reapers rip through.
So what exactly are you saying?
Whatever happens, I figure there'll be survivors, but it'll be chaos. I'm betting things will run on a barter system. So I'm getting a jump. My best stock only trades for hard goods and artifacts with real value.
So what gets me access to your top shelf?
Heh, Turian just waved credits in my face and spat on it. Nice to see you have flexibility. If you find any rare pieces when you're out saving the galaxy, bring them back. Then I'm happy to share my top stock with CSEC, no problem. Outside of that, I gotta stick to my guns.
So I'm interested here as to whether or not I'm redirecting material from the war effort to this black market. Because at that point, I just, I would club him over the head and take his inventory.
Credits don't talk with me, Commander. CSEC wants my top of the line. You gotta come through with a couple artifacts.
Hello, Shepard. Commander Shepard, do you have a minute?
Can I help you?
Jordan Knowles, E-Crimes. It's an honor to meet you, Commander. I've got a saboteur hacking key systems, power, communications. It's bad. If you've got time to help, check out this console.
Got it. Looks like a collection of access codes.
They're Batarian diplomatic codes, from back when they had an embassy on the Citadel. If you can use your Spectre access to find them, I can shut them down.
I can access restricted intel at the Spectre office in the embassy. If I find anything, I'll let you know.
We have to keep enforcing the law. Same as always. Without that, everything goes to hell.
Look at Paladin, my friend. We're in hell. We should be looking for terrorists. The rest can take care of itself.
So the bar fights, the drunken disorderlies down by that purgatory place?
How does cracking down on that crap help us win the war? People need to blow off steam right now.
Everyone on the Citadel knows we're at war now. You have to show them that CSEC is still in control. They need that security.
She looks like she has a mustache.
Right. We need people coming into work every day. We need things to keep running. Otherwise, today's bar fight could be tomorrow's street riot.
Yeah, maybe you're right. This feels so damn petty right now.
I've connected with Jonah Sedaris in her cell, Commander. You can speak with her via that console.
Thanks. We'll need some privacy.
Of course. When you're done, you can also contact Commander Bailey from that terminal.
Now, I'm a little bit rusty in terms of the specific details.
Who's that spying on me now? Ah, I see. Good. Arya's indentured servant has finally come to deliver me to freedom.
I want to talk with you before I secure your release.
Bullshit. You have no choice. And when I get out, heads will roll. Oh, yes. You've killed a lot of my people. Don't think I've forgotten that.
You have to move on.
And I will, once all my enemies are dead. I love holding all the cards. Even in here, you must deal with me. I have all the power.
Is that right?
Yes, Sane, my second in command, is a weak-willed toady. If he had balls, he'd leave me to rot and take control himself. But he won't defy me. He knows better. Now get me out of here, Shepard. Tell Bailey to release me.
Bailey, I've seen Sedaris.
So she's crazy, right? It would be ridiculous to let her out.
She's a menace. Let me try to make this problem go away.
Sounds good. I'll hold the line until I hear from you.
The other thing I kind of like about these side quests, I mean, it's one of these things which is a fine line because obviously I now have, I think it was like 1.8 million humans a day.
I just don't understand why you're suddenly so conflicted.
Look, the asshole's in custody now. Killing him won't bring anyone back.
It's about justice. The man is a traitor and a murderer. You saw what he did to your wife, to my husband.
What's going on here?
I'm in position at CSEC. Draw them away, and I'll move in and make the kill.
Don't answer that.
Found another one. Yeah, the guys in Zakara did too. Disarmed there safely. No casualties. Nice work.
So, you know, we've got this staggering cost of delaying the liberation of Earth. But it is kind of neat that these side quests are more than just... Like, some of them feel like you go from one part of the level to the other part of the level, and that solves it. It's almost like trying to find, you know, the key to a door in an old FPS. It's not actually that fun. I know if you say that about old FPSs, you get a bunch of people who are like, oh no, these are classics, you know, you just don't know, you know, modern games have spoiled you or whatever. And yeah, they have, because modern games are better. But you know, to be honest, like, there's a reason that convention's gone away. So sometimes when you just walk around a level and and it solves the side quest. Sometimes it's like, well, did I really need that? And then the question is, did you learn something interesting about the world? I tend to find that if there's a good emotional payoff, if there's something revealed about the Mass Effect world, those I don't really feel like I've really been cheated in terms of the side quest. For the ones where it's just sort of like, I delivered someone's mail, which isn't in Mass Effect, but I think we've all played games where that's what the side quests are sometimes, then it sort of feels a little, I question as to why I needed to do that ultimately. But some of these ones where, it sort of seems like, okay, well, you got to go to CSEC and then you're going to run into the person and whatever they say, that you're going to let them out. On that one is like, oh no, like Bailey was right. This person's insane. Like, no, we're not releasing that. And all of a sudden I'm starting to ask some questions in terms of what is the solution to this? It's kind of neat that every time that I sort of feel like this game has become a little bit predictable, there's the odd side quest that comes by and shows me that maybe there's a couple of details that I didn't anticipate and probably should have had more faith on. Also, the rate at which this tree is losing leaves, it's got to be bare by the end of the game, right?
Commander, unless you can find a new source of weapons for CSEC, I'm putting together a task force to stop the Blue Suns myself.
I'll get you your weapons, General.
I appreciate the effort, but I've spent too much time out of action, Commander. Won't be able to sit on my hands much longer.
All right. I don't think there's going to be anything new for me here, but I did just want to do another circuit in case people came up. But like I was saying before, like the ability to sort of see what's going on in the environment, see the effects of the attack and whatnot.
Commander Shepard, guess I know what happened to my backup.
Excuse me?
Come on. I'm in CSEC in civilian gear with a weapon. I know what I'm made. Just let me explain. Captain Aaron Summers, Alliance Marines, retired.
Captain Summers?
There's a prisoner here. CSEC officer who helped Cerberus. CSEC caught him when you stopped the coup. Now he's offering them intel on Cerberus to get a better deal.
Why are you telling me this?
Because he doesn't deserve a better deal. He killed people during the coup, good people. And he's former Alliance, like us. The way I figure it, he's our problem to fix.
If you gun that man down, you're dishonoring the uniform just as much as he did.
Like hell I am.
I don't like plea bargains any more than you do. But the intel we get will save lives.
Says who?
Our superiors. The people we swore to serve and trust, Captain Summers.
Yes, Commander. Sorry, Commander. I'll shut it down. Thanks.
It's funny because the number of times I've sort of intervened, like getting the security footage is a fantastic example of all of these little corners that are being cut. Again, this probably just talks a little bit more about where my head's at rather than necessarily something inside the game, but getting, as I was sort of saying from the first game, where there's, the politicians are always wrong and get in the way, and the military has all the good ideas. Obviously there is a subtext to that, which is not necessarily the sort of thing that might align with my political ideals.
If he's a terrorist, he ought to be locked up.
He should be shot. Gorex wanted for 6 bombings. 6. Killed both humans and Batarians.
He bombed his own people?
So obviously the little steps that I'm making, like, CSEC officer coming in to get videotape without the proper authorization, that's something that I would not tolerate in day-to-day life. the game does an interesting thing. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it. It definitely salves your conscience quite often. So you get someone like the police officer saying, I promise I'm only going to use this for the thing that I needed.
Spectre status recognized. Please select a destination.
So it may be that, for someone like myself, it makes me more inclined to do those shortcut moves. The thing that's worth keeping in mind for me is that in the end, even if they didn't have those moments, I'd still probably justify the move just by virtue of the fact that I'm a Spectre, which is already this rather questionable, kind of extra legal.
My family disowned me when I married Neota. Wanna guess why?
Oh my.
They'd be happier to see those Cerberus assholes than they would be to see me.
I understand why you would not wish to send your daughter to them.
Yeah, well, your understanding doesn't help me or my daughter much right now.
So yeah, as a Spectre, obviously, I'm already kind of engaged. I've effectively institutionalized the sort of stuff that I'd sort of consider to be a few red flags. And of course, it's wartime too, so there's certainly a number of measures that we take. But I will admit, one of the things that I do is my character, so I do a lot of stuff that I would generally, as concepts, I actually feel quite uncomfortable with as this character because I know I'm me. Whereas some of the decisions that Shepard makes in this are ones that I wouldn't necessarily be comfortable with because it sort of seems to be sort of the thin end of the wedge in some of these cases. I just wanted to take a minute. Heating stabilizers. The Solarian colony of Sonoquil is experiencing a power shortage that threatens their egg incubators. The colony will be forced to evacuate unless the improved heating stabilizers can be found. The loss of a colony could amplify the difficulty of gaining Solarian support for the war effort. Hanar heating stabilizer technology can be purchased for a nominal fee. All right. Time to meddle in internal affairs. So, medical supplies. Medical supplies originally meant for occupied zones have been rerouted to the Citadel because the Reaper invasion has made delivery impossible. The supplies are currently in lockdown on the docks, but can be released to Huerta Memorial Hospital under Spectre authority. Authorized. Authorized civilian militia. CSEC has fielded requests for a civilian militia to defend the Citadel in the event of another attack. Many CSEC officers believe a militia would benefit the Citadel's state of readiness and improve morale, but they lack funds and clearance for the program. Spectre authorization would allow CSEC to begin training volunteers using funds normally allocated to executive bonuses. They want me to do this one. First Irun Financial Report. The financial report is for top-level embassy access only. According to financial estimates from the First Irun Investment Trust, a division of Elkos Combine, the Citadel races cannot sustain the cost of the war effort for more than 1 year. Although military spending has stimulated certain market sectors, shortages and rationing in other areas have depressed the financial system. Civilian discretionary spending has fallen, except in entertainment areas like escapist vids and drinking. This is fascinating. First Irun is borrowing heavily to provide funds for key functions across the Citadel, but if the war does not end within the next year, galactic financial collapse is inevitable, which, is partly due to partner benefits increase. I'm pretty sure that's partly my fault there. Obviously, this is consistent with what we're currently experiencing. So the entertainment sector, well, certain parts of the entertainment sector, because obviously some cultural industries rely on people gathering. So concerts, the theater, both motion picture and live performance. Well, any live performance really. But obviously gaming is doing quite well right now. So, surveillance authorization. CSEC has requested a number of surveillance warrants in an attempt to find evidence that would incriminate Cerberus informants on the Citadel. Officers have tapped public surveillance feeds, but do not have legal access to private security feeds. Spectre authorization would enable CSEC to tap into business feeds without informing civilian agents. Yeah, go for it. Location for Batarian patient. A Batarian patient named Gorek is located in a makeshift clinic in a temporary refugee camp at Donking Bay E24. He is suffering from undisclosed but severe injuries. Medical staff from Huerta Memorial Hospital have provided painkillers, but there is no viable long-term treatment. Because the Batarian hegemony refuses to share records, no data on Gorek is available prior to his arrival on the Citadel. and Batarian access codes. With Spectre-level access codes, it is possible to bypass standard security protocols and track top-level diplomatic dispatches. The location of consoles accessed using Spectre ciphers will be uploaded to the Spectre's Omni tool and highlighted for easy detection. All right. I'm a little bit past time, so what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to head to, actually, just to prep myself. I'm going to head to the refugee area so I know what to do at the start of next broadcast. I think I'll wrap up loose ends on the Citadel. It shouldn't take too long at the start of Friday's cast, and then we'll be able to sort of properly get back on track with the quests. For those of you coming to the end, I do apologize for maybe being a little bit more... Actually, you know what? For what we're doing here, let's just wrap up all the side quests. I'm already over, and I'm not feeling the waves in terms of just the hunger that I feel have been going back and forth. The fact that I had something already helped.
Pressure's okay. No infection so far.
Can I talk to him?
Only if it's important, Commander. He's hurt bad. Take down the sedative a bit, but hurry. I peg his survival at 50-50.
Are you Gorek?
Go away. Nothing to say.
Not even what a terrorist's doing on the Citadel?
Get away from me, human.
You didn't answer my question.
Your alliance wiped out my world. Blew up a relay that turned my planet into ash. Aragog had people on it. Families. Struck back. For them.
The Alliance destroyed the Alpha Relay because the Reapers were about to come through.
Easy for you to say that now that... You want to punish me? Unplug the sedative. Let me join my family.
I'm done here.
I'm not quite sure what the...
Good. He'll cough himself to death without a sedative.
No! Wait!
Wait, what?
Just take it easy. There.
Okay, no, I was like, did I just wind up killing this guy unintentionally? I'm not 100% sure quite what happened there. Let's just see if there's... Badly wounded Batarian may actually be a terrorist. Find him in the refugee camp and investigate. So, I mean, we found out about it, but I'm not quite sure what that got us.
Hey there.
Oh, it's you, hey.
Your parents get here yet?
Nope, it's okay. I mean, they'll get here. They always keep their promises. Next shuttle was probably just late or something. That's all.
I'm sure you're right. I look forward to meeting you.
Please tell me by the end of the game the shuttle shows up.
Come on.
Men, get ready for trouble.
Not here for that, Sane. Just want to talk about Jonas Sedaris' release.
Oh, you're the one coordinating that, right? My idea, you know. Arya came to me looking to gain Eclipse support. I'm leveraging it to bust the boss out.
Saying you should run Eclipse.
Huh?
You can do it. Leave Sedaris locked up and make the deal with Arya yourself.
Arya would be a step up. And you think she'd let me run things?
I don't see why not.
Right. Right. Then that's the plan. Keep Sedaris in jail. I'll call Arya right away.
Good man.
All right, but yeah, so the plan, here's the plan for the next little while. Again, so for those of you who prefer a little bit more gameplay, so I guess I would have to put it to you this way. If you watch my stuff, you prefer more gameplay, and this was a really talky one, and you're at this point, I definitely need to thank you for watching to the end of this. I generally assume that if I'm going down a path that isn't working for people...
The council withdrew the release order for Sedaris. Arya Talok, of all people, got him to do it. Crazy.
You can say that again.
Thanks for your help, Shepard.
Spectre status recognized. 1 moment, please.
But yeah, I never want to take viewership for granted, and I do thank you for watching through it. For those of you who are interested in sort of the stats stuff behind this,
Armor keep you safe? I've watched reports on some of the things you're fighting.
Well, it won't stop a Reaper, but an extra second of shielding can be life or death.
So Vortex makes good shield capacitors?
The best. They don't skimp on plating either. I love it.
Sounds like you want to get back out there to try it out.
You know? A little. Can't wait to show it off to the team. Maybe I can take point more off of now.
that's not what you're supposed to say, dude. But yeah, so the overall plan for the next little while, I will be doing a special cast tomorrow. So there is a game that I was given a promotional key for. Actually, I'll put it to you this way. It's probably not a bad idea to say what it is. So long-term viewers of the channel will know that I was affiliated with GOG for a while. I had like an affiliate link, and there was a situation where they had taken money from developers for people using that link, something I was not aware of until I saw a separate legal dispute. But yeah, basically GOG was essentially charging them for the affiliate money that I made. They took that money, but they were trying for a very long time not to pay that out to me. And in order, I think the official, there's some rather testy emails that I got back from them. But in the end, sort of for a let's say an amicable split, the decision ultimately was made to pay me out. But for those of you that know, I've been quite critical of GOG as a result of that. And I think that is justified. I haven't been as aggressive in those statements since the situation was resolved, because in the end, the aim was an amicable solution, and in the end, they did the right thing. On the other hand, I also don't necessarily think that buys silence. One reason why I feel a little bit more free speaking about it right now is that when I did my taxes for that year, what GOG sent to me basically was something like 10 times more. Like the claim that they made was that they sent about like 10 times more than they actually sent to me. So they're either trying to do something dodgy with the Polish government, or they're trying to do something to cause me problems in terms of what my claims for income will be. And so I don't even really care about the motivation at this point, which is, getting an email after a rather terse, maybe not a terse, but maybe a rather testy exchange over money that has been taken in my name and is owed to me, only to find out that there's some kind of nonsense happening. I'm just going to save this again to make sure I'm not losing it. To find out that there's a sequel to this whole problem in the form of inaccurate tax information being sent out. At this point, I don't really feel that I owe them anything. On the other hand, I was given a key through GOG to have a promotional copy of this game to send that out. I am as surprised as any of you. It's a game I'm interested in doing, and so I took the deal. Most of the press keys that I get, there are no conditions on which I need to accept it. The GOG one did say direct people to buy the game at, and then this particular GOG address. That's not going to be an affiliate link for me. I'm no longer part of that program. But again, I'm something of a pragmatic sort. So the deal is this. I don't take agreements. I don't do stuff like that without intending to fulfill my side of the bargain. This is ultimately the reason why I was upset with GOG in the first place, which was an agreement was made and the agreement was not honored. But I also need to appreciate that sometimes these things can come off as more of an endorsement than they necessarily are. I figured if you're the sort of person who watches until the end of my videos and such, I should probably just let you know the state of play right now. My personal view is always this. It's up to you to decide who you want to support. It's up to you to decide where you want to spend your money. I am still not very enthusiastic about GOG as a platform. I still use it. I bought Blade Runner off of it because it's the only place I can legally buy Blade Runner. But my efforts in trying to find a Steam alternative have really moved towards the Epic Store, and also more importantly to EA Play, because EA Play has a lot of wonderful third-party content on it, and a lot of games that I have wanted to play and really enjoy playing are actually available on that. So Origin has suddenly become my storefront of choice in certain ways. And this tends to come up in the context of Epic a lot more than anything. But in the end, like, you're not necessarily, like, if you're buying a game using an affiliate link with me, one that, a game that you were already going to buy, that does help me out, right? Because it takes a purchase you were already going to make and it turns it into something that generates a little bit of revenue for me. This GOG thing isn't. The thing that I get out of it is that I get access to a game that I may not have played otherwise through GOG, and in exchange they would like me to direct you to their storefront. And I'll say as much in the future, in tomorrow's cast as well, because in the end it needs to be accurately presented, and I have every intention of following through on it. But my view is this: people probably shouldn't not use GOG because they did something mean to me. Everybody's got a private gripe with companies, right? People have private gripes with Amazon, but a lot of people are going to still use Amazon. People might have a private gripe with a coffee shop. Like I personally don't like Tim Hortons. I think Tim Hortons is slow service, not very good food, and most of the time the stuff that's listed on the menu isn't actually available to buy. But people still give me Tim Hortons gift cards, and I don't say to them, how dare you, this is the worst gift ever. I'm grateful for the gift, and I am gracious about it. So, in the end, it is up to you to decide where you want to buy your games. The game I will be playing will be available on Steam, I know for sure. I don't know about other storefronts. If it's on Steam, then it's also available on Humble. Yeah, it's basically a chance for me to play something that I think you guys will enjoy. I will be promoting the GOG link, as a condition of doing that agreement, and it's ultimately up to you to decide whether or not that's something that you'd like to buy through, or if you just want to buy it on your platform of choice. It's like the Epic thing, right? I say something's available on Epic. I'm not under any illusions that people are necessarily going to be buying it using the Epic affiliate link if it's available on Steam, right? A lot of people really liked Hades. A lot of people bought Hades on Steam when I streamed it then. I'm not going to complain about it, because in the end, if you really want to do me a favor, you just donate, right? If on the other hand you are buying a game and you'd like to turn part of that into something that supports me, the assumption is that it's a purchase that you had already been making. And if you weren't going to buy it on Epic and you wind up buying it on Epic because of me and you don't like it on Epic, then I feel bad for it, because in the end, the amount that I get from something like that really isn't, I don't think that's worth anybody's inconvenience, to be completely frank. Although I'll say, like, I'm very enthusiastic both about Epic's affiliate program as well as Epic as a platform. So just one, it's a notification that in the end, you get an extra stream this week, which is nice. It's a game I hope you enjoy. It'll be an RPG. But on the other hand, too, for those of you who do hear this sort of stuff, I thought it might be helpful to just give a little bit of context about what was going on. I'm not really saying anything here that I'm not going to be saying tomorrow. I think it's valuable to say in, to be honest and upfront about the conditions under which you're streaming certain things. On the other hand, I may not relitigate the grudge with GOG. I think probably long-term viewers will already know about it, and new viewers, there's a difference between, poking someone in the eye while you're doing your promo for them and, letting the context speak for itself. So, and I figured I could mention that here because the audio, it's the way of keeping both people happy, right? The people who are going to find it weird are more likely going to be people who stay to the end of an episode, and the people who maybe don't have a dog in that hunt are, they'll be there for the stream tomorrow, or they won't be, but they don't really have standing in this conversation, and they don't necessarily need to know the whole sorry details about what's going on.
I am such a strong believer of the
trust in physics. All right, sorry about that. So let me just try and find out who is, oh, damn, there's a couple people online. All right, so here is the deal. I am going to shout out Ponce. Ponce is a wonderful streamer. He's playing the game he's been playing the last couple of times I've hosted him, Remnant from the Ashes. He makes the game look really good. I'd really like to try it out. But Apocalypse is playing Monster Prom tonight. And sometimes I host Ponce over Apocalypse because Hop might be playing Teamfight Tactics and Ponce is playing Remnant. But I think when Apocalypse is playing a new game and Ponce is playing one that's a little more familiar, I think it's time that I balance things out a little bit. Plus, in Director, I guess we wound up talking about the different perspectives that come from certain characters in Mass Effect and that. Hopefully a couple more of you come along on the raid. But yeah, just to wrap it up for tonight, there will be an extra cast tomorrow. I'm going to try and start at 7 o'clock Eastern, or as close to that as I can manage. That will be the special bonus game tomorrow. So RPG. On Friday, we're going to be back to Mass Effect. Monday, I'm very likely taking off for Thanksgiving. And then Wednesday will probably be the Dirty Rectangles local game dev meetup, and so I won't be there. That takes me to October the 15th, where I will start playing Lucifer Within Us, and I'd like to try and give that a nice, thorough going through. So that may mean that Mass Effect kind of winds up put on the shelf for a little bit. That's why I didn't want to push too hard into a side quest or something like that here. We will be back to it, but I do encourage you guys to hang out for Lucifer Within Us. I think it's a really interesting game. I think Kit Fox is a really interesting developer, and I'd love for you guys to be able to experience that. Anyways, enjoy Apocalypse's stream, and we will see you tomorrow.